Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I hope I'm going live about now. Today is the continuation of a very big week. We already had a big start to the week yesterday, of course, with the unveiling of the M4 iMac, but we are absolutely going bananas today with the M4 and M4 Pro fully redesigned, Thunderbolt 5 having, DisplayPort 2.1 supporting, M4 Pro Mac Mini, which is just the cutest thing ever, and it's also the highest value Mac I think Apple has ever made. This is absolutely crazy. Big shout out already to the people already in the chat and already watching, like Evan Rogers, asking whether the Mini supports 8K 120 Hz. It doesn't say that on the tech specs website, but there is one nuance that I will cover as we go along. And Rivertail Chap leaving comments for the almighty algorithm, calling out for the M4 family supremacy and saying when he was reading the specs, I knew you were going to think its value. It's absolutely mind-blowing because he does too. Absolutely, this in my opinion is the highest value Mac ever. I think this is the tweet that I just left on Twitter in preparation for this stream. So we have so much to go through. Now once again, shout out to, of course, Apple having made an announcement video for the Mac Mini, and that is great, though of course knowing Apple, it's not something I can actually watch. It's not something I can actually react to because, well, it's Apple. They're very stringent with copyright. They're very strict about that stuff. But as I said about the iMac video yesterday, you feel free to, after this stream, go check it out, get all the details. They gave even some extra nice stuff about processor information, which I assume they will do the same here for the M4 Pro. I haven't yet gotten to watch the video, but I've read the tech specs. I've seen how crazy people are reacting. There's so much to analyze, like the use of faster memory, the restoration of the 256-bit bus for the Pro family of chips rather than the 192-bit bus that we got on the M3 Pro, which was a downgrade over the M2 Pro. It's absolutely insane. I apologize for some sounds in the background. I'll get my mic as close to me as possible. I'm sharing the room with my nephew right now because his parents had to leave, and so this stream is technically also me babysitting. So I apologize a little bit in advance. Yeah, we should be fully good to go. Let me check my stream, the comment section, everything on YouTube. I started a little bit earlier to check if everything works. You guys know how paranoid I can be about that. As always, let me know if there are any problems with my audio or with video quality. As I always say, be a lively live chatter and make this a very engaged community. Ask me questions, give me your opinions. If you want to support this channel, you can leave a small super chat or super sticker donation right in the live chat, or of course you can become a channel member right here on YouTube or a supporter of on Patreon. Plenty of ways to support me, plenty of ways to support our community, plenty of ways to engage, and of course watch the videos, like them, subscribe to the channel, share it out to anybody who you think might enjoy it as well, and of course comment also, not just on the live stream but also when the video has gone live, in the sense that it's been uploaded. Let's start as we did yesterday with Apple's newsroom report, and yes, they're calling this an all-new Mac Mini because, I mean, look at that cute little thing. It's more mighty, more mini, and yes, it's built for Apple Intelligence. The compact do-it-all desktop now features the power of M4 and M4 Pro, so this actually goes in line with what I predicted yesterday when I said that we would talk about M4 yesterday with the announcement of an iMac. Then I said Apple would introduce the Mac Mini today and make us talk about the M4 Pro chip. And then tomorrow they will introduce the MacBook Pro, and then they will make us talk about the M4 Max chip. Nothing too crazy here, pretty much like it's a gradual rollout. It's happening all very quickly, but it's kind of digestible. It is still a crazy week to get all of those announcements announcement though in like newsroom reports. And I mean, Apple clearly planned for this to be some kind of keynote at some point, because sorry, as I said, I do have some other duties to attend to today. And yeah, so unfortunately, no keynote for us this week, but still very, very cool stuff, and a lot to read through, a lot to analyze, a lot of like buying decisions to make and stuff like that. So now it should all be working perfectly. Let me just check my stream, my chat. Okay, so we also, by the way, it's the first carbon neutral Mac, which I guess it's really cool. I've said it plenty of times that I think Apple's commitment to the environment is really great. That being said, of course, I also encourage people to every new device does consume resources while you make it. Every new device will consume energy. So if you can get it, or if you can hold on to your older device, if you I apologize, guys. So let's go through what Apple has said. Apple today unveiled the all-new Mac Mini powered by M4 and M4 Pro chips and redesigned around Apple Silicon to pack an incredible amount of performance into an even smaller form of just 5 by 5 inches. This is so ridiculously small. Like, I've heard some people say they are now worried if Apple will be able to like effectively cool this device, of course. But I wonder about the M4 Pro though more than I do about the base M4, and that has everything to do with the fact, of course, that the M4 Pro is a lot larger. It even features like faster memory and stuff like that. But the base M4, I'm definitely not worried, because that one is obviously fine inside like the 5.1 millimeter passively cooled iPad Pro with a display sitting on top of that. So the Mac Mini definitely should be able to handle that, especially thanks to active cooling. It's a small chassis. I assume Apple has trimmed down everything in size that they could, including the power supply and things like that. But yeah, it is going to be very interesting to see if there's any thermal throttling issues or performance issues like that. With M4, Mac Mini delivers up to 1.8 times faster CPU performance and 2.2 times faster graphics performance over the M1 model. Now, this is interesting. They're comparing, we've already had that discussion yesterday with the M4 iMac, where Apple was very much comparing to the M1 model rather than the M3 model. Of course, with the Mac Mini, we never had an M3 model, but we did have an M1 and an M2 model in the past. So Apple is not comparing it here to the M2, but rather to the M1. What's also interesting is that these promises are actually a little bit higher than the ones given for the M4 iMac, because the M4 iMac promises 1.7 times faster CPU versus the M1 iMac, and 2.1 times faster GPU performance. So somehow Apple was able to give us like a 1/10 of performance extra here, which is interesting. Again, this does suggest that there are no thermal throttling issues that Apple expects here to happen. Maybe the fan will be much louder than it would have been on of course, on the much larger M1 or M2 Mac Minis, but it's still a very fascinating discussion to have that Apple just unveiled two M4 Macs back to back, two desktop M4 Macs Macs even at that. And they are technically promising you a little more on the Mac Mini than they are on the iMac. So again, fascinating. Schnitzel Noodle joining again, and just as yesterday, telling us to shut up and take my money, Apple. Again, this is shockingly good value, and we will get into the pricing discussion to all of that later on. But to me, this is just absolutely fascinating. Apple is way more aggressive with the Mac Mini here than they are with the iMac. Yesterday, I even said that technically, well, Apple does have room to even like reduce pricing, because if they really make the new Mac Mini very much tailored to these high efficiency small Apple silicon chips, like they can give you a smaller power supply, especially on the smaller version like the M4 version rather than the M4 Pro version. They can give you less cooling and still be very, very fine with it, right? So Apple basically did that, because unlike the iMac, which had to introduce a bint chip to its base version, the Mac Mini just gives you double that memory, 16 gigabytes of it, at the same $499 starting price, and that just absolutely blows my mind. Again, we'll get to all the pricing discussions later on. We're gonna see how it stacks up like against its last generation, whether or not you should now consider buying a Mac Mini. It's really, really cool that Apple has gone this far here. With M4 Pro, it takes the advanced technologies in M4 and scales them up to tackle even more demanding workloads. I've already mentioned, and you can even see in my thumbnail, for example, the reference to Thunderbolt 5 that Apple promises will give you faster data transfers on the M4 Pro model. An important distinction: no Thunderbolt 5 on the base version. And of course, something that I've alluded to, and that is that new 16 gigabytes of memory, that is of course a better value for the base M4 Mac Mini, but it gets even crazier for the M4 Pro, because not only does it start now with 24 gigabytes of memory, but it actually uses faster memory. The M4 uses 7500 megatransfers memory, while the faster M4 Pro Mac Mini actually uses 8533 memory. If you actually like have some like resemblance of what is happening outside the Apple sphere, you will know that's very much the memory that Intel is using for the Lunar Lake chips, but on a much smaller bus. It's also the memory that many Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 and Gen 3 chips have been using in the past, while Apple was still on 6400 megatransfers memory. So when we got 7500 memory on the M4 iPad Pro, and then on the A18 chips inside the iPhone 16 and the A18 Pro inside the iPhone 16 Pro, we very much expected the M4 Pro and what we'll most likely get tomorrow, which will be the M4 Max chip on the 14 and 16 inch MacBook Pro. We expected that one to be 7500 megatransfers as well, but to me, now this very much looks like Thunderbolt 5 and faster memory is very much something that Apple wants to give us on the Max models. Absolutely phenomenal, considering it all still starts at $599. That is just the coolest shit, in my opinion, that Apple could have done, except for also giving us double the base storage, of course. You can pre-order today, and availability begins November 8th. So very much in line with what we just saw yesterday with the M4 iMac. Apple keeps talking here about Apple Intelligence, their personal intelligence system. It transforms how users work, communicate, blah, blah, blah. I'm not here to give you an advertisement for Apple Intelligence. As I said, I will try, of course, out Apple Intelligence on my own devices, since my Mac does support Apple Intelligence in the EU as well. But in my opinion, Apple Intelligence for now is kind of mostly geared toward iOS devices. So I'm very much looking forward to getting it in April on my iPhone and my iPad Pro. The new Mac Mini delivers gigantic performance in an unbelievably small design thanks to the power efficiency of Apple Silicon and an innovative new thermal architecture. This is coming, of course, from John Turnus. I've already talked about him yesterday and how I believe he will be Apple's new CEO when and if Tim Cook resigns at some point, or basically just goes into retirement. For now, he is the senior vice president of hardware engineering, but he is very influential in the company. I wouldn't be surprised if it's people like him pushing Apple into giving you higher value propositions so that more people have access to more memory. I hope at some point the same thing happens with storage. So maybe we finally move away from the pitiful 256 gigabytes of base storage. That being said, there is so much to unpack here. And as he says, combined with the performance of M4 and the new M4 Pro chip, because yes, this is the first M4 Pro device we have ever gotten from Apple, enhanced connectivity. Now this does apply to Thunderbolt 5 on both the front and back, which previously the Mac Mini only had ports on the back, and the arrival of Apple Intelligence. Mac Mini is more capable and versatile than ever, and there's nothing else like it. Royost KE saying, seems like M4 Pro uses LPDDR5X 8533. Yes, brother, we are on one wavelength. I've been briefly mentioning that. We'll, of course, analyze that even more once we get to the technical specifications on Apple's website. But yes, you can absolutely expect some fast memory here. And not only that is it fast memory, but it now sits on a larger bus and you get more of it versus the M3 Pro chip. Now, it's not actually a larger bus versus the M2 Pro chip because Apple did that sneaky downgrade from M2 Pro to M3 Pro, but alas, we are back to full 256-bit now with higher capacity modules. It's all fantastic basically. The only thing that drags it down even just a little bit is I guess to a small degree, it's the 256 gigabytes of base storage on, of course, the M4 version, and it's the fact that Thunderbolt 5 is only available on the M4 Pro version, not on the base M4. However, I assume that most people buying the base M4 version probably won't benefit too much by Thunderbolt 5, so I'm absolutely fine with that choice. The new Mac Mini footprint is less than half the size of the previous design at just 5 by 5 inches, so it takes up much less space on the desk. This is the one thing that could get me to buy one. The fact that it's so small and such good value, it feels so cute and so interesting to behold. I'm so interesting. And Infinity Views joining the chat, actually becoming a great supporter of Apple. Feel free to become a supporter of the channel as well, is saying you just ordered one. Well, tell us, which version did you get? What are your workflows? Let us know if you have any worries about potentially the thermal architecture here, if you think it might fall short in some ways because it's now so small, if there is any value thing that you still think is missing beyond maybe the storage, whether or not your workflow could have benefited for some things that haven't yet come to the Mac Mini, like Wi-Fi 7. Yeah, there's so much. I would love to hear your opinions on this Mac, especially from anyone who is either already ordered it, like Infinity Views, or who might be considering doing that. I just love interacting with you guys on all of that. The super compact system is enabled by the incredible power efficient of Apple Silicon and an innovative thermal architecture, which guides air to different levels of the system while all venting is done through the foot. Okay, let's see what that means. The unbelievable compact form is made possible by the efficient performance of Apple Silicon combined with an all-new innovative thermal architecture. So let's see. Well, I hope this doesn't claim any copyright music or anything. Oh no, that's just the thermal architecture. I actually haven't. Oh, okay. I don't know if it's that better or worse. If anybody here is an engineer, let me know what you think. Of course, on the back, you can see. Let us actually watch it in full again. So we do have the full explanation of the thermal architecture. We do have like 2 boards almost inside here, which is very interested. Master, the ad seems very odd and experimental. Not saying that's bad though. It feels like they're letting new people do some stuff for smaller product. Did Apple post a new ad for the Mac Mini? Yeah, unfortunately I cannot watch it though, because I'll probably comment on it tomorrow when I've gotten the chance to watch it, because obviously I cannot watch any of Apple's ads live on stream. It will all get demonetized, potentially even taken down. If there is copyright music, that's terrible too. So yeah, that's unfortunate here. Thanks. Danke. My cute nephew is just sitting next to me, not too far away, so I just asked him to make his iPad a little bit less loud. So I apologize, guys. I might not be as hyper enthusiastic today as I was yesterday, just because I don't want to scare a kid next to me, but I'm still super duper excited. So on the back, we of course have the traditional power supply. Some people had speculated that we might get that magnetic power cord that the iMac got, right? That is just a circle. But given the fact that, of course, the iMac is supplied by an external power supply, that was always less likely. So we just have that 2-hole power supply. We have Ethernet, still very cool. I believe you can still upgrade it to 100 gigabit Ethernet for server-like workflows, so working with like a home NAS. It has HDMI with now really, really good output support. And yes, it does have Thunderbolt ports on the back as well. So like Apple has learned a lot. There's a lot of trickle down here coming from technology like the Mac Studio, great products in general. So yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to this. When compared to the best-selling when compared to the best-selling PC desktop in its price range, Mac Mini is up to 6 times faster at 1/20th the size. So Apple is really showing off here, of course. In my opinion, this is what Apple Intelligence was designed for, to make devices that are this thin, this light, this and yeah, that is absolutely transformative in my opinion. For a wide range of users, from students to aspiring creatives and small business owners, the Mac Mini with M4 is a tiny powerhouse. Mac Mini with M4 features a 10-core CPU, a 10-core GPU. Yes, this is what the M4 iMac starts with, an 8-core CPU, bringing down its 6 efficiency cores down to 4. It comes with an 8-core GPU, which yes, that makes a little bit more sense than what has Apple also done, for example, on the M2 and M3 chips. But yes, the M4 Mac Mini in its base 599 configuration actually gives you the full M4 chip, which is absolutely mind-blowing. I mean, considering the 11-inch iPad Pro comes with the 9-core CPU M4, and that at $1,000, and then the 13-inch version starts at $1,300, still with that bin chip, and you have to upgrade all the way into the 1 terabyte and 16 gigabyte configurations to actually get the fully enabled M4s. And now we are getting it on the Mac Mini across the board. And of course, you also get it now with 16 gigabytes of unified memory. Absolute, of course, mind-blowing shit. Not saying that it's unparalleled in the industry or anything, but in my opinion, this is the result of us finally getting proper competition to Apple Silicon, like real competition where chips have gotten more efficient, integrated GPUs have gotten faster, neural engines have been added, so real stuff that is actually game changing. And now Apple, because all of that happened, is now forced to react to that. In this year, as I speculated, they are giving us more memory. I said I predict that next year they're going to give us more base storage. They still hold on to their sometimes outrageously high pricing for memory, for storage. I don't deny that. But this is where they make their profit. The fact that their base models are now that good, and therefore for $1,000, you get what you previously didn't even get at $1,200, because not only do you get the better value of more included memory, but you also get the faster chip. That to me is absolutely game changing. Schnitzel Noodle saying the 16 gigabyte upgrade is so valuable. Yeah, and the best thing, of course, is Apple primed us to react to that, because if they had always maybe charged $100 more, right, they for to go from 8 to 16 gigabytes, we might have not gone so crazy about getting 16 gigabytes without any upcharge. But now that we are, our mind is collectively blown. And I think the same thing will happen with actually more storage. If next year they give us 512 gigabytes of storage, and potentially again without any upcharge, maybe if that upcharge from 256 to 512 had historically been $100, it wouldn't blow our mind so much. But because Apple has been outrageously pricing it at $200, now we will lose our mind this year, next year, and then the year after. I assume we will blow our mind. It will blow our mind when the M5 or M6 MacBook Air finally gets promotion, because Apple had gate capped it for the more expensive devices. Guys, we are so many in the stream. Please, if you're enjoying this, if you love these kinds of interactions, this is what I do. Please feel free to leave comments, share the video, like it, subscribe to the channel. If you want to support this channel directly, you can leave a small super chat or super sticker right in the live stream. All supports is very much appreciated. You can become a channel member right here on YouTube, or a supporter over on Patreon. So many ways for you to become an indirect or direct supporter. It's all so amazing. YTKR, the base M4 Mac Mini is an insane value. Absolutely agreed. YouTube Cullen Cheesy, if the bus is 256-bit, I think the memory on the M4 Pro is also faster. Probably went from 7500 to 8533. Well, welcome to the stream, brother. You are such an amazing long-term supporter of the channel. You leave always such big explanatory chats. But yes, today I was earlier, and yes, I did already predict that. I actually calculated it. Yes, they are very much guaranteed to be using 8533. Simon, how powerful do you think the M4 Pro 14-core CPU and 20 GPU cores are? I really couldn't predict that at this point, because the bandwidth increase for the GPU, plus, who knows, Apple could have gone crazy and implemented some other changes for the actual GPU architecture that might have necessitated that kind of memory increase. Or, for all we know, they might have boosted GPU clock speeds by a crazy amount. Now, the prediction that they give us here, that the GPU is 2.2 times faster on the base M4, this all makes sense, and we'll get to their promises for the M4 Pro version. But yes, this does suggest that there's big things happening here. YTKR, the M4 Pro's overall is better than the M3 Max. I assume, well, except for peak GPU performance, because that one gives you 40 core GPU cores and stuff like that. But the M4 Pro in its CPU version with 8 performance and 6 efficiency cores will likely perform for most people faster than the 12 plus 4 core configuration in the previous M3 Max MacBook Pro. And that is simply because the M4 architecture has much faster single core performance, and all your like day-to-day tasks are much more likely to be limited by single core performance rather than multi-core performance. Fizz, hey Mark, I can't hear you right now because I don't have the headphones and I'm at school. That's a valuable excuse, I understand that. But you got an iPhone 16 Pro, and if you want, I'm always here to test features. I'm OG from when you had 54 subs. Guys, amazing shout out to Fizz. Fizz, I don't remember if you're still a channel member or something like that. Doesn't matter. Your long-term support is very, very much appreciated. I saw that one subscription ran out or something like that. Doesn't matter. Just again, reminding you guys, there are so many ways to support this channel. At that point, I'm sometimes overwhelmed myself. Embro Relax, considering price and specs of M4 base models, it's a better deal compared to previous M2 Pro, and that will cause its value in used market to sink. Yes, this is also what I said about the M4 iMac yesterday, which is that it doesn't matter even sometimes how much better a new version is, as long as it definitively delivers some extra value. It's really good for the overall market. This is why I dislike when people say, oh, we don't need an M3 that or M4 that. Let Apple wait until M5, right? Don't make any chips after M1 until you can jump to 2 nanometer or some bullshit like that. I'm like, no, we need new tech. We need new Wi-Fi tech. We need new Thunderbolt specs. We need new Bluetooth. We need new form factors. We need new neural engines. We need new media encoders. Where do you get off in telling us as a community that we shouldn't be enjoying more technology? This is ridiculous. Fizz, to be honest, I got the new AI update and it kind of sucks. There's like barely anything besides erase writing tools and Siri. Yeah, 18.1 is the small Apple Intelligence upgrade. The big stuff is happening 18.2, which is coming in December, but you can install the beta already. And then the even better stuff is coming with 18.4, when Siri will learn to basically control your OS. YTKR, 75% increase in bandwidth is crazy. Also moving from 8p and 6e to 10p and 4e in the Pro. Wait, the Pro chip is 10 performance cores? I thought it was 8. No, that cannot be. Then it, oh my god. M4 Pro chip, where is it? 12 core CPU with 8 performance and 4 efficiency cores. Wait, I'm so confused. Yeah, where's the highest end version? Why does it only give me the binned version? I want to see what I can upgrade to. What is this? Am I missing something? Where do I see it? Oh, configurable. M4 Pro with 14 core CPU. It doesn't tell me what cores it has. Is that here? Where is the M4 Pro? 20 cores. 10 performance and 4 efficiency cores. Oh my god, I got it wrong. Jesus, that's because I had to set up this stream so freaking quickly. Josephat, also long-term supporter, coming in saying he is going right now to the pre-order page on Apple's website. Absolute giga chat here. Come on, give us some support here too. We are also like money, not just Apple. But my god, this is, by the way, guys, this is why I always tell you, I love making these live streams, because I learn from you, you learn from me. Sometimes I'm an idiot. Look how small and cute it is. And we have these emotional reactions. I so love it. CW Griswold 1492, love the new Mini, but the headphone jack on the front is annoying. I assume that's because for most people it's actually better. But yeah, I understand. If you have a speaker setup and you don't actually focus on headphones, but I guess because you now have 3 USB-C ports on the back, which I assume most people will probably not really need that many, you could probably get like a $10 USB-C to 3.5 millimeter headphone jack adapter, right? I mean, it won't be the prettiest setup, because you will have like that little dongle hanging off before it connects to your speakers. But yeah, I understand that. Am I supposed to route the aux to the front of the machine? Well, if you feel like it, I mean, technically it doesn't really matter how you position it. Realize saying, hello Mark, CW Griswold, how are the speakers hooked up in the photo? They might just be Bluetooth for all we care. Or all that matters. Michael Lee, they should be that should be a Mac Micro, not Mini. Holy shit, it's so tiny. Yeah, Apple could. I think in the Steve Jobs days, remember when we had like the iPod Nano and all that jazz, right? There is a decent chance that somebody like Steve would have basically said, you know what? It's such a different form factor. Let us actually redesign. Let us actually rebrand it and benefit from it, right? Because now the media will have to use the new name. They will have to create new charts to explain where does the Mac Macro exist or the Mac Nano. I assume, giving Apple's history, they would have much rather called it Mac Nano. But yeah, this is so crazy. This is gorgeous, and if you make a proper cable setup, this can be such a great machine for a small setup. What else do we have? Starts with 16 gigabytes of memory. So basically 4M4, it's all pretty clear. Middle is, do they all have HDMI 2.1 now? Let us actually check that, because I didn't quite... So base M4, simultaneous support up to 3 displays. I don't know whether or not this is exactly HDMI 2.1, but when you are using 2 displays, which assumes that one is using Thunderbolt and the other is using Thunderbolt or HDMI, so that display controller support is split, but it's split like dynamically, so you can use HDMI and one USB-C Thunderbolt port or 2 Thunderbolt ports. But yes, since it does support up to 4K 240 and they do mention HDMI, that to me does support suggest that this is actually full. No, it's not just actually like HDMI. Well, this is HDMI 2.1, and I would actually suspect it's like using the full 40 gigabits per second. The HDMI might actually be 48 gigabits if it supports that. 240 hertz at 4K is quite crazy. YTKR for 4 RAM slots for the M4 Pro. Yes, that's part of why I say it's 256-bit, because one module connects to basically one 64-bit interface. Josephat Guerrero, also long-term supporter here. So does this mean the M4 Pro MacBook will come with 24 gigabytes of standard? Yes, it will. It will come with 4 modules of 6 gigabytes of LPDDR5X 8533 memory, and then it will scale even farther from there. Yeah, so yeah, it seems like it has HDMI 2.1 here. I don't see HDMI 2.0 has no way to support 4K 240 over HDMI. The strangest thing here is that about $500 less than the Studio with M4 Max. Yeah, it's wait. You mean like if we got a Studio, because we have a Studio right now with M2 Max. So yeah, this one is better, by the way. Then even I would argue this is way better than the M2 Ultra, because the faster single core performance, the new media encoders, the neural engine improvements, the new GPU architecture with hardware accelerated ray tracing and stuff like that. This is better in my opinion for the vast majority of people than even the M2 Ultra. So NMLV, yeah, I think we are on one wave here. So let us actually get to Apple's performance promises here. When compared to the Mac Mini with Intel Core i7, the M4 is 2.8 times faster for audio effect plugins in Logic Pro, 13.3 times faster in gaming performance in World of Warcraft, and enhances photos with up to 33 times faster image upscaling performance in Photomator. Of course, this is just demolition derby at this point, comparing it to old Intel-based Mac Minis that often didn't get updates for years and years. Granted, we now were a little worried because, the M2 Mac Mini didn't get upgraded to the M3. Did Apple forget it again? Well, it seems like they didn't. They're just still kicking the absolute living crap out of previous Intel-based Macs. And NMLV, if you don't need 4 Thunderbolt 5 ports, then no need to wait for the new Studio. Yes, if you don't need a lot of super high performance I/O, if you don't need even stuff like, I would argue, just the incredible cooling for a Max chip. If you are somebody, I would still recommend, of course, waiting for the Studio if you can really benefit from like 40 GPU cores. Who knows, maybe the M4 Max goes absolutely crazy. The M4 Pro is way crazier than I thought with 10 performance cores. But maybe the M4 Max even gives us more GPU cores, jumping up from 40 to 48 or something like that. So I'm now just absolutely locked into tomorrow. My mind is blown at the possibilities of what we could see tomorrow. Then, of course, Apple's comparison to the Mac Mini with M4. This is actually the same promise they made with the iMac yesterday, which is 1.7 times faster, 2 times faster in Max Whisper, and 5 times faster in Adobe Lightroom Classic, which I like. Let's see, what is 4? Does that mean it uses like the neural engine or something? Okay, I don't see why it would be that much faster, but I guess that's cool. Oh, it might be because it supports, could it be that uses ray tracing? That would explain, like, that would be in line with the GPU upgrade plus ray tracing support. But I'm actually not sure. Anybody here who uses Adobe Lightroom Classic and knows what helps this task be that fast? Because this is over M1. This is not versus an Intel-based Mac Mini. CW Griswold, they seriously need to fix the storage upgrade pricing. Almost criminal. Yes, but as I always say, this is where they collect their margins. This is their best business. Like $200 more for 256 gigs of storage that cost them like $10. This is where Apple goes from potentially making 30% profit margin to 40%, right? John Paul Music UK, Adobe Classic is the old version. Yes, but I've heard actually people say that Classic is in some ways better because it's like less needy of online connectivity and stuff like that. So I've actually heard some people who work with photos, and I think we have some people like that in the community who say that like Adobe Lightroom Classic is actually preferable. Jamie Ibrahim, they're claiming 50% faster GPU performance than M2 Pro, so that's roughly double the uplift. Well, no, M2 Pro. Okay, so that would be still in line, which I mean makes sense because the M2 Pro had like 19 GPU cores. This has 20 cores, plus it has that faster memory on like a similar sized bus. Yeah, that to me still makes sense. For example, for comparison, they said M3 Pro GPU is 10 times faster than M2 Pro. Yeah, there was no big uplift, and in fact, in many benchmarks, they were actually very much neck and neck. President Viva saying, the sound is too loud. I apologize. I'll briefly tune myself down a tiny bit. Michael Lee, I'm using both Lightroom and Lightroom Classic for Adobe. DJ Belly saying he also prefers Lightroom Classic. John Paul saying I'm looking for Mac Mini M4, not Pro, for music production, using the M1 Pro and on the MacBook Pro 14-inch for my studio, and it smashes it. Well, great. Now you will have two great machines to work that. Schnitzel Noodle, base Mac Mini is going to replace my Apple TV. I really cannot recommend you do that, brother, because the interface is just too different. You just don't get all of those advantages of just like how smooth it all works with the Apple TV, how AirPlay works. I don't know. The Mac Mini is just so cool. Just limiting to Apple TV work. finally fully blown entertainment multitasking. Well, I guess if you are also able to still leverage it as a PC, then it's not bad. Donnerschwein, why would I trust you as a reliable tech source if you can't even fix your audio clipping? Yeah, I've set my audio that way because I don't want you to hear my nephew in the background, but also I am a tech YouTuber covering Apple. I'm not an audio engineer here. Simon, for whom should the 10 gigabit Ethernet is supposed to be? For people like Linus from LTT. Want to say hi?
Bist du fertig?
So let me set up my volume again. NMLV, you wish there were now 4 Thunderbolt 5 ports on the back. For what in the world do you need that many Thunderbolt ports? And Kev Chatter asking iMac or Mac Mini. For me, neither, because I'm still on the M1 Max 14-inch MacBook Pro. I'm still very, very happy with it. Yeah, so let's see. So let's finally actually get to the M4 Pro performance. So 14 cores, 10 performance and 4 efficiency cores. M4 Pro also provides phenomenal multi-threaded performance. That is just so mind-blowing to me. President Shiva saying my sound is good now. I made myself a little less loud and I put the microphone a little bit further away. That means you might be able to hear my nephew a bit more, but I apologize. I of course cannot leave him entirely unintended. He is very nicely playing in the other room. I told him if he wants to, he can say hi, but for now he's just playing with his cars. 20 cores, the M4 Pro GPU is up to twice as powerful as the GPU in M4, so they're promising very nice scaling. The scaling doesn't seem to go beyond the fact that the memory is actually more than twice as fast, but maybe that was needed, right? Maybe there are some other bottlenecks that the faster memory helps Apple overcome. You want to say hi? Come here. Come here. Guys, this is the guy in the other room for whom I was tuning the microphone so much. This is my nephew. Say hi, Aiden. Hallo? Willst du Hallo sagen? In die Kamera? Willst du wieder zurück? Okay. So, if you wonder why my audio was so different today, that's because he is just sitting there. He is trying to be nice, but of course he is still a little kid. He is getting a little bit annoyed of how long I'm streaming. He doesn't fully understand that this will be a very long stream, but I hope his parents are coming home soon, and then he'll go to another room. 3 displays in the Time Machine drive, 4 Thunderbolt ports. Okay, that makes sense. Michael Lee, now I got a problem. Should I hold my throttle for the M4 Pro MacBook Pro? Yeah, it's coming tomorrow, so I can absolutely tell you if you are liking what you see today, but you would prefer a laptop form factor, of course, wait for that. Daniel Welkov saying, bro, stop glazing. We all know some Lenovo gonna blow it out of the water for 30% cheaper. You can go and get that Lenovo and enjoy it in some other community. This community does not denigrate Windows devices or Android devices. This community is here to be positive and give people nice recommendations. We understand some people have different needs when it comes to the ecosystem, some choices when it comes to performance. Some of us really need like everything Apple based. So yeah, if for you Lenovo is great, which of course there's no Lenovo product right now that will give you all that single core performance or anything close to that. That's up to you. That is not what I'm going to talk about here on this channel. So feel free to do as you wish. I think this is very, very unfortunate because this community has been very positive. We have people with Android devices here, with Windows devices, with Mac, with Windows PCs, with PlayStation consoles. Yeah, I'm sorry. If you feel like you have to come in and talk about like Lenovo is gonna be 30% cheaper and blow it out of the water, that's up to you to enjoy. Kechita, my dilemma, keep MacBook Pro 14-inch with M3 charged I have no idea, bro. Like, this is an interesting conundrum because could you return that M3 MacBook Pro and get an M4 within a very similar price range? I actually don't know, to be honest, because it's not like the M3 is bad, right? And you are comparing M3 Pro versus base M4, so this is a different value proposition. You might be losing on like 2 gigs of memory. In my opinion, you also, of course, have still the opportunity to potentially return it, and then yeah, guys, I'll be right back. Huh? Yeah. Okay, my sound will be soon even better. His mama returned. She will give him a nice evening rest now. I'll definitely Kafchata return tomorrow. We will see what it all means when we got the MacBook Pro fully announced tomorrow, and then I'll probably be able to give you a better recommendation, especially once we see the prices. Rafat's saying awesome, don't know what you mean, let's see. And we have another guest here, but he doesn't want to be lifted up, I guess. Come here. So here's another guest. Say hi, Sammy. So if you guys ever wonder why am I screaming today, it's because so you don't hear anybody else here. So today's special guest is Sammy, and before that we had Aiden, and I'll join all of you later in the evening. He doesn't want to leave. He just didn't want to jump up. Now he doesn't want to leave. All those, they're so freaking cute. I love them all to death. You will have Thunderbolt 5 and increased memory bandwidth. NMLV, don't forget, the base M4 doesn't get Thunderbolt 5. He's making the comparison between the 14-inch M4 base M4 and an M3 Pro MacBook Pro, because if you're mentioning it having 18 gigabytes, that's a different configuration. That's not that. And we have people saying woof. Yeah, you just saw Sammy. Of course, he just left. Yeah, but it's a fun, very lively stream today in so many ways. Sammy say woof if you recommend MacBook M4. Well, I will also woof for you. Guys, we've been streaming for almost an hour. Small recommendation as always. So we have so many people watching live. Let me work with my audio a little bit so you can trust me, of course, as an amazing audio mastering tech YouTuber, right? Let me just set up the microphone at a better distance. Let us set its sensitivity to a bit lower, and let me just talk to you calmly and quietly. If you want to support this channel, please consider, I cannot do that. Guys, subscribe to the channel, like the video, share it out to anybody who you think might enjoy it, and of course comment. Please also comment after the video has been uploaded and not just live, but you guys see I love interacting with a lively live chat. And of course, if you want to support this channel directly, you can send a small donation via super chat or super sticker directly in the live chat, or you can become a channel member right here on YouTube. Shout out actually to Angelica, Maximus, and Steve, who just yesterday became a MarkTech Pro Max supporter right here on YouTube, or you can become a supporter over on Patreon. Oh my God! So many guys. I'll have to tell you, if I'm guaranteed to be guaranteed to read your chat, it's better be a super chat because it's getting really a lot of chats. Mike Shaw TV. I love my M1 Mac Mini. My biggest issue currently is only 256 gigs of storage, so $200 more to bump up to 512. It's the biggest disadvantage versus PC. But don't forget the Mac Mini. Except for the iMac, in my opinion, and of course the Mac Studio, and of course the Mac Pro, but you'll get what I'm getting at, is the Mac least impacted by its lack of storage. Because it's a stationary small product, you can just always keep it hooked up to like a Samsung 1-2 terabyte SSD. Like it could be like a decently fast, like a 2 gigabit one, or maybe really crazy even beyond that, and you'll be happy. Get 512 in my opinion, so there is enough space for the operating system, all the regular files you have, so you can move some data around from time to time, but you don't need to get 1 terabyte, 2 terabytes, 8 terabytes like some people do. A schnitzel noodle, from everything that I've heard, it's actually not a big hassle to use external drives even for apps. So yeah, I don't know, like I don't do it because I have 1 terabyte on my M1 Max MacBook Pro, but I know a lot of people do it and are quite happy with it. I wouldn't use it for a laptop, but I would use it for a desktop. Kev Cheetah, I'm thinking M3 was rushed into market. I don't think I care at that point. Maybe it is, maybe it wasn't. But at what point do I just say, you know what, M3 was cool, M4 is even cooler, right? It's not like I would have been much better off with a bigger gap between M2 and M4. Some people still got M3, are still happy with it. The gap between M3 and M4 wasn't even that small. So I can agree with you to a degree, but also tell you, don't really worry about it. YTK, I just want to see M4 Ultra and M4 Extreme. Yeah, I understand. Best Buy has a 60. Okay, so Hustle. Now App Store lets you install Bix apps on an external drive. Those, thank you, Josephat Guerrero, actually giving us great tech tips here. Exotic TF, they mentioned the better FPS performance for games, which would be great if they didn't compare using WoW, a 20-year-old game. But WoW isn't just a 20-year-old game. WoW is a game that has been upgraded over 20 years. The new WoW, while it might look even slightly similar to the WoW from 20 years ago, you're gonna run it at higher settings, higher resolutions, with more complex NPCs and stuff like that. So while yes, I understand, oh wow, it's an old game, whatever, but it's still a very popular title, and it is Apple Silicon native. So that's I think a part of the reason why Apple uses it. Suck Medic, I got the M2 Mac Mini 7 days ago. Well, maybe you can return it. I would recommend you do if you can still get full price back. Mike Shaw, thanks Mark, you're correct. I do have a Samsung external drive. It's the only way the lowest storage works. And Schnitzel Noodle telling thank you to Josephat. And MLV, you should wait until teardown for storage to see what the NAND configurations are. The higher storage is more performant. Yes, but from what I understand, Apple has really learned from their mistake with the M2, where they gave you one module. So while two 256 gigabyte modules might still be more performant, especially down the line, because they will also have like more cache in them and stuff like that, than two 122 gigabyte modules, the difference of course isn't as pronounced as the difference between one 256 gigabyte module versus two 128 gigabyte modules. You are absolutely technically correct, but I don't think we are seeing the repeat of the mistakes of the old M2 devices. Let's continue. So 20 core GPU, twice as powerful as GPU in M4, so linear scaling here with the amount of cores. Both chips bring hardware accelerated ray tracing to the Mac Mini for the first time, 3 times faster neural engine than M1 Mac Mini. On-device Apple Intelligence is fast, 64 gigabytes of unified memory on a collective 273 gigabytes per second of memory bandwidth. That is, in my opinion, the game-changing part here. Of course, the previous Mac Mini was maxing out at 32 gigabytes. It was maxing out at 200 gigabytes per second, but it of course still had everything was worse. It didn't have hardware accelerated ray tracing. It had an older neural engine and stuff like that. It had dramatically slower single core performance. So while maybe that upgrade in memory bandwidth isn't even that crazy versus the M2 Pro, it's pretty crazy versus the M3 Pro, which maxed out at 150 gigabits per second. So this is like it's over 2/3 faster. So yeah, that to me is just like, well, no, it's 2/3 faster. Yeah, that to me is just no, wait. 2/3 faster would be 250. No, it's 75% faster. I'm sorry, I just had a blackout, I guess. You should wait until you should also not fill SSDs. That is correct. I've told about that yesterday when I bought the 1 TB MacBook Pro. I always wondered, would it serve me even longer if I got the 2 TB version and stuff like that. But given that I barely fill up 300 to 400 gigabytes of that my M1 Max MacBook Pro, honestly, I'm not too worried about that storage. But yes, if I had a 256 gigabyte system, I probably wouldn't have gotten it, because I would have gotten 512 at the very least instead. But I absolutely understand. You are correct here. Twice as much bandwidth as any AI PC chip, so that's an interesting comparison, for AI workloads. And M4 Pro supports Thunderbolt 5, which delivers up to 120 gigabits per second data transfer speeds. If you don't know, Thunderbolt 5 is 80 gigabits in either direction, but you can actually almost like cut off half of the upload or the download to send 120 in one direction, right? So it's either 160 consisting of 80 up and 80 down, even though both things showed are up, or you get 120 by basically having one full 80 and the other at 40. So that more than doubles the throughput of Thunderbolt 4, because Thunderbolt 4 is 80 gigabytes, which is technically, of course, exactly half of Thunderbolt 5's, but you can only get 40 in one direction, 40 in the other. You cannot actually combine that to potentially give you like 60 gigabits per second in one direction. NMLV, that was also actually a bird feature of what is BIDI Thunderbolt 3. Was there an early version of Thunderbolt 3 that supported this kind of like bifurcation, this modular approach to the speed? Because I actually looked it up. This was not part of the Thunderbolt 4 specification, but maybe it was in TB3. I would actually love to hear from somebody who might be even more nerdy than I am. This community loves nerds. The big question with this is how many TB controllers are on board? 4. We actually don't know. We have not seen the M4 Pro die. I apologize. I said that about the it's about the M4. I actually don't know. Oh, because I would be interested how many of these ports on the back might have to share bandwidth potentially. Ooh, that would be crazy. Could it be that maybe it still has 4 controllers? But all of them are Thunderbolt 5 instead of Thunderbolt 4. And maybe all 3 ports on the back could then be Thunderbolt 5. And then the 2 front ports share one Thunderbolt controller. Something like that could happen. But this is just speculation. I actually cannot know. NML, we had the same thought. That's so cool. K-Chatter, coming from 2015 MacBook Pro 15-inch and hesitant on MacBook Pro 14 because smaller, and MacBook Air 15 has so little ports and 60 hertz. Yeah, if you are a pro level guy, if you are an enthusiast for this kind of tech, I probably would recommend trying to scrap some cash together to go for a MacBook Pro. To have a display size downgrade, that's unfortunate. I also understand that, of course, going to the 16-inch is a lot of money. But I'm very happy, if that matters anything to you, I'm very happy with my 14-inch M1 Max MacBook Pro. Lessons in Hilda culture. What do you think about the new Mac? Well, we've been streaming for about an hour now, and I've talked only about that. I think, except for the 256 gigabyte base configuration, which I wish they would have increased the price by $100 and gave us 512 base. But I think this is a phenomenal machine throughout. Like fully unbinned M4 at $599, 16 gigabytes of memory. the M4 Pro version giving you a crazy 10 P cores and 4 E cores. Of course, the even crazier, like the fact that the M4 Pro has faster memory, per modules than the base M4, even though that new memory Apple just started using a couple of months ago with the M4 iPad Pro. Yeah, I'm very, very happy with what we are seeing here. Will this be a best machine for music production? Probably, yeah, until like the Mac Studio comes out. It very likely will be. Bro, they claimed world's fastest CPU core. Wait, what do you mean, Sabian Hibbs? The M4 is the world's fastest consumer CPU core. At 4.4 gigahertz per second, it delivers in Cinebench 2024. It delivers over 170 points, which neither Arrow Lake, the latest Intel GPU architecture, can match, or AMD Zen 5 cannot match that either. They're more in the 150 to max 160 range. So yeah, Apple absolutely does have the world's fastest CPU core. What's a good brand of Thunderbolt cables? Apple's are, but I believe Belkin has decent ones, but I never bothered to get Thunderbolt accessories, so maybe somebody else in the chat right now could help you. Guys, we're almost 100 people watching, 99 people, an hour into the stream. I'm so incredibly grateful. Small plea from me. If you're enjoying what you're seeing, subscribe to the channel, like the video. Liking, it will attract more people. It will make this live chat even livelier. Please do so. It helps tremendously. And of course, share the video to anybody who you think might enjoy it. Help us grow this community. And comment. You can see that chats are coming in crazy. 111 people. That's the highest live view we ever had. Tomorrow probably gonna be not as crazy because I think the redesign of the Mac Mini is really making everyone go apeshit here. And of course, if you want to support this channel directly, please consider leaving a small donation as a super chat or a super sticker right here in the live chat. I'm then basically forced to read your chat because you see how crazy this chat is going right now. And of course, you can also become a channel member right here on YouTube or a supporter over on Patreon. I apologize to bother you with all that. It's just so necessary to keep this channel engaged and growing. I love you all. Apple, Belkin probably are the best, so NMLV giving some tips here to the community. Lessons in horticulture makes sense. I'm fine with it. iCloud doesn't cost that much, and the Mac Mini with one Thunderbolt and 16 gigabytes only cost $9.99 Swiss francs. So yeah, that's a good deal. Isaac Asimov saying this is a great video, very much. You said you become member and gave a like. Wow, that's amazing, bro. Absolutely phenomenal. Kev Chita saying, I've never seen your stream. Thanks for info. Yeah, we for anybody who is maybe crazy about like, oh, what is this channel? This is primarily a live stream channel. We actually have a decently big subscriber count because early on I was streaming a lot of drama stuff about stuff like Linus Tech Tips, but ever since we've started being more serious here, a lot of engagement of this channel really fell off. So I really want to tell you, this is a serious channel, but a very lively channel, a channel that talks tech, talks Apple specifically. If you're interested in any of that, become a member or a subscriber just in general, and we'll keep exploring all of that stuff together. I watch reviews, I react to stuff here. Sometimes I buy my own stuff and review it. Granted, I don't really have too much time for that. So now you know where you're at. P. Winger, the new Mac Mini is on the Canadian websites. It's Apple TV sized. Yes, it's actually super duper similar to Apple TV. I remember when 16 Go was like the pro thing. Yeah, 16 gigabyte really is now, apparently thanks to AI, has been pushed into the mainstream. Is 16 gigabytes still considered good or no? Yes. For the absolute majority of people, for example, I have an M1 Max MacBook Pro with 32 gigabytes of memory, and I barely use be above 12. Sometimes my system will just jump to like 20 gigabytes of memory usage or something like that, but then it will just result in it, oh, now I don't ever have to do swap. And I'm like, okay, I'm happy for you, but you would have also done well still with 16 or even less memory. KevGT, imagine if notches smaller are gone on M4 laptop. I'm waiting for OLED laptops before I upgrade mine. It may not hit 144 hertz. I don't know if Apple does 4K 60 over Thunderbolt. Yes, they do. They do 4K 60 over Thunderbolt. I wonder what's the fan noise will be. Yes, this will be part of that I'm looking forward to in reviews. Targ, just subscribe. Thank you so much. Nick M saying you have 3 4K 144 Hz displays. Do I need M4 Pro? Let's actually look at that. Simultaneous support of up to 3 displays. You get 3 displays supported on M4 and up to 3 displays. You will be limited to 60 Hz at high resolutions. So you will need M4 Pro to run those displays at their native refresh rate. I apologize if that is bad news, but it is the truth. Isaac, are the benchmarks out there? No, they're not yet. Of course, you can kind of reference for the M4 the benchmarks that we had from the leaked Russian stuff, but I assume we'll have like a review embargo a couple of days before the 8th of November, and then we'll just go ham, and then we'll probably watch together videos from channels like Geekervan, so a lot of stuff to go through. Good things to actually. Okay, so I see now that you guys are also now starting to talk between each other. Not every chat is just for me. Nick, you're not on 6K resolution, I understand, but like Apple is really picky about that. Here, look, 3 displays or 4K resolution at 60 Hz over HDMI. So they don't even mention for 3 displays simultaneous 144 Hz. Maybe the display controller just cannot handle that many FPS. But here, of course, with 2 displays, you can go ham with 4K 240. So maybe you should wait and maybe just write an email to Apple and ask them actually exactly what would happen. So very interesting. Well, 4K is a supported display resolution, and 144 Hz is something that you can use with macOS, but yeah, Apple will just not reference that, right? And MLV, yeah, it's partially macOS, it's not really the hardware. Is this good also for editing? Absolutely, especially when you're talking M4 Pro, absolutely. I'll probably buy the 512 gigabytes or 1 terabyte M4 option with 1 gigabit per second. Yeah, even I, with all my enthusiasm, would not upgrade to 10 gigabit Ethernet here. Last question, will you, Mark, buy a Mac Mini model and review the benchmarks as well? No, I will not, and that has partially to do with that my work schedule in November is going to be a little crazy, so I will watch reviews with you guys, and I will, and this is a promise that I've made to the community ever since the iPhone 16 generation has launched, and after we started getting stuff about the Snapdragon 8 Elite and the Dimensity 9400, right? I've said that I want to, with you as the community, and maybe even with your help, not just with you present, I would love to create a giant sheet of data where we basically look into it, can later look into it, and we compile the benchmarks and good data for chips like A18 Pro, Snapdragon 8 Elite, Dimensity 9400, and now, of course, M4, M4 Pro, and M4 Max, because those are just crazy good. And of course, we do have other benchmarks that we can look up here, for example, like Cinebench, which isn't supported on iOS, but it is, of course, on macOS. You can do 240 Hz, yes. Is it true that Apple HomeKit only supports 4 devices? I would be very surprised if that's true. Why would it? The Apple TV with A18 or A17 Pro will be crazy. It will be a very smooth experience. Okay, you guys can also help each other out here with any tech questions you might have. We have seen new members, we have seen new supporters, all crazy. If you really want a guarantee for me to read your chat, make it a super chat, and I'll continue just seeing what Apple is promising here. Performed spreadsheet calculations up to 4 times faster in Microsoft Excel. And that's the Core i7 Mac Mini. I assume it's the last one that they had. Executes scene edit direction up to 9.4 times faster in Adobe Premiere Pro. Transcribes with on-device AI speech to text up to 20 times faster in Mac Whisper. It's actually interesting. Apple really seems to be supporting certain AI applications and giving them a shout out, especially if they are properly optimized. So I guess great on Mac Whisper, which has been recommended to me, for example, for my live streams, so I can later do a full transcription. So really cool, I guess, for those devs. Processes base calling for DNA sequences in Oxford Nanopore MinNo up to 26 times faster. I couldn't even tell you which part of the chip this is using. It could be the GPU, but I don't know. And Kev Chatter, when is my next live stream? Tomorrow, but probably a little later than today. I'm going on like a day trip with my nieces, so maybe like an hour from what would be now, right? So for me, it's now 6 p.m. in Germany. It could be 7 p.m. or something like that. Why don't I use Thunderbolt cables? Because none of my devices except for my MacBook itself supports it. I don't have storage that is fast enough. Well, I have my M1, I apologize, I actually do have my M1 iPad Pro, but I never do transfer data from it to my Mac, and certainly not at speeds that would require Thunderbolt cables that are super expensive. Yeah. Will the base M4 be enough for editing in Final Cut Pro and Xcode? I couldn't tell you, because the scaling of tasks from like, oh, I'm editing a 720p MP4 file to, oh, I'm editing multi-view like 8 streams of 8K ProRes RAW in Final Cut Pro is very big. Now for Xcode, I think most people will still be happy with M4, especially the fully enabled version, but usually I would still recommend maybe go for the Bint M4 Pro. Now granted, that's a big ask because the base configuration is now $13.99, but it really will help you. I'm just wondering, what would make the Apple Mac Studio exceptionally better than this? Well, the M4 Max will double the GPU performance, and yeah, the Ultra will really be a hard sell at this point. However, the Ultra will have one thing that will stand above everything else in the industry, and that is the potential to have up to 512 gigabytes of unified memory that is usable for AI tasks. Nothing in the industry for consumers will come close to be this available, even at that pricing, because Nvidia makes you pay more than an arm and a leg, basically also a kidney and part of your liver, to get enough memory to actually process large language models. So that will be where the Mac Studio absolutely shines. But yes, for most consumers, Mac Mini is enough. For most prosumers, the Mac Mini with M4 Pro is enough. And then of course, the M4 Max Mac Studio will be enough for almost everyone ever. What do I have here? Eye of Thundera. HDMI doesn't suck. Need to know. It is 2.1. It is 2.1 Eye of Thundera. Great name, by the way. Tippo Master. John Turner said the future was more bespoke. Want to say hi? Okay, my cousin just came along. John Turner said the future was more bespoke silicon for each application. Yes, and the neural engine is Apple's biggest expression of that thus far. It hasn't but even then, I'm actually not sure how much Apple does, for example, with very custom storage controllers. But even that is also part of bespoke tech. I think the PS5 really brought it into forefront how much you can do with dedicated encode and decode blocks, and Apple is doing that, but they also have such high CPU overhead. They don't need to go as ham as the PS5 did on its storage controllers. So yeah, there's a lot of bespoke stuff, like the media encoders. Don't forget, the media encoders are not just one block. We have H.264 encoders, H.265 encoders, ProRes encoders and decoders, now AV1 decoders. It's really such a mind-blowing confluence of technology. It's really hard to say. KevCheater, got to transfer data out of old MacBook Pro. Can I transfer data to iPad Air? Yes, you can transfer data, but you cannot transfer a backup as far as I know. If you want to transfer it like a backup, you should do it with an external drive. I'm not sure if you could basically make a time machine like files stuff inside the iPad system. I'm not sure. I never tried. That sounds like a novel approach. The next Mac Studio is definitely gonna be next level. Yeah, especially for with the Ultra and the extreme amount of memory you could get here. Mac Studio is going to have to be a beast. Yes, it is going to have to be, so people don't just get the M4 Pro Mac Mini. When compared to the Mac Mini with M2 Pro, Mac Mini with M4 Pro applies 1.8 times more audio effect plugins in a Logic Pro project, renders motion graphics to RAM up to 2 times faster in motion, and completes 3D renders up to, let's say, 3 times faster in Blender. This is not as big. I expected this uplift to be more like 3 times, because this one doesn't have, well, I guess this is the result of maybe 20 to 30% more raw GPU power, but then also, of course, hardware accelerated ray tracing. But this to me suggests that Blender is not yet doing that great of a job to really properly leverage hardware accelerated RT on Mac. Because in my opinion, this should be above 4x. Because we are not comparing to DM3 Pro, of course. We're comparing to DM2, which didn't have hardware accelerated ray tracing at all. But maybe we are hitting some memory bandwidth limitations at that point. That could also be true, because we obviously have 40% more memory bandwidth, actually a little less than that, 36%. So maybe that could be a bottleneck here. Kev Cheddar, what's my next Apple purchase? The iPhone 17 Pro Max next year. And then afterwards, maybe an M5 iPad Pro or an M6 iPad Pro, depending on the timeline. If the M5 launches very quickly, then I would be more likely to wait until M6. If M5 takes a long time to launch after M4, then I might just get M5. But personally, I would love to wait for 2 nanometer based processors until I update any of my tech. I would love tandem OLED from my mini LED promotion screens, and I would love 2 nanometer chips just to say for the fun of it that I have them. Upgrade connectivity and display support. The Mac Mini with M4 Pro comes with Thunderbolt 5 for the first time, which more than doubles transfer speeds, so users will be able to use faster external storage and connect to more accessories at the same time. So, wide array of ports, but of course, as you have seen in the tech specs portion, it does no longer have any USB-A ports. It is just USB-C or go home. for data. Of course, you still have HDMI, you have Ethernet, and you still have what I would assume to be a high impedance 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. And as some people have said in the chat, it is in the front, which for some people might not be ideal because they would like their speaker setup to just work through the back. And as I said, you might just consider adding like a USB-C to 3.5 millimeter adapter to one of your Type-C ports on the back. It has 10 gig as a multi-gig too. Yeah. Let us actually let us finish this, and then we'll get into seeing how it's priced, and then I'll just want to hear your opinions and your suggestions. This is such a crazy big chat. This is actually the biggest chat I've ever had, the biggest live stream of views I've ever had on this channel. Having any of you join the community just means so freaking much to me. Mac Whisper, Adobe Lightroom, and now we get to Thunderbolt. What does Apple promise here? Upgraded connectivity and display support, and of course, whenever it talks about 6K displays, they do try to still make you buy Pro Display XDR. I highly recommend you then don't get one, unfortunately. It is 60 Hz, it has a low density mini LED screen, and on a 32-inch diagonal, it has 576 local dimming zones. That's 4 times less than the 13-inch iPad Pro had with its mini LED screen, which had way above 2000, right? So yeah, the Pro Display XDR really isn't a great deal too. Lessons in Hildegard. I don't think anybody needs Thunderbolt 5. Thunderbolt 4 can already transfer 40 gigabits. Well, yeah, but Thunderbolt 5 can transfer 120 gigabits, and this will be the thing that would support a 6K 120 Hz screen from Apple that also has like that wouldn't need display stream compression, and certainly not at a high rate of compression. So yeah, there is still some need for Thunderbolt 5. Maybe not for the regular Joe or Joe Biden, but it would definitely be welcome for prosumers. Thanks for all the info. Just ordered the 512 megabyte version with 10 gigabit Ethernet. Yeah, I agree with ABD777, Rob, that I think we all hope that you mean you got the 512 gigabyte version. So let me go through those specs. Front-facing ports, more convenient access. It includes two USB-C ports that support USB 3 and an audio jack with support for high impedance headphones. So I guess my guess here was correct. On the back, a Mac Mini with M4 includes 3 Thunderbolt 4 ports, while Mac Mini with M4 Pro features 3 Thunderbolt 5 ports. Mac Mini comes standard with gigabit Ethernet, configurable up to 10 gigabit Ethernet, and an HDMI port. Well, they both have HDMI ports, but whatever. With M4, Mac Mini can support up to 2 6K displays and up to 1 5K display, and with M4 Pro, you can support up to 3 6K displays at 60 Hz for a total of over 60 million pixels. If you wonder why are they not mentioning higher refresh rate screens here, even though they clearly keep on mentioning them here, right? Like up to 4K 240, that's because this is also partially an advertisement for their own screens, like the Pro Display XDR, which is 6K 60, or their Studio Display, which is 5K 60. So don't let yourself be discouraged by whatever Apple says here. It does go beyond this, and you just can look into the tech specs for it. 2B5 can daisy chain 6K if they would allow it. Yes, Thunderbolt 5 could definitely like control 6K screens. Absolutely. Maybe there could be some latency penalty, but that wouldn't be as big of an issue. if there are limitations, some of them might be what version of DisplayPort tech does Apple support behind their Thunderbolt, right? Which is now DisplayPort 2.1, but that doesn't guarantee every level of display stream compression support. The other question is, what does Apple support in macOS itself? Right, with additional tech like daisy chaining or extra throughput to ports that might be built into the external monitor and stuff like that, right? So sometimes you have to think about the hardware itself, then you have to think about Apple's specific implementation, and then you have to think maybe sometimes there are even bugs that Apple might not even fix for years or something like that. And yeah, so always look for reviews, always ask maybe like always make sure that you test everything you need on your Mac or iPhone or iPad in like the first 2 weeks that you own it. That way you can make sure that all your accessories work together, right? And that way you can go to Apple and return your Mac or something like that, get it fixed quickly if it is actually an issue. So yeah, a lot to consider definitely as a purchaser with now such a varied array of potential accessories for you to support. Exactly, it's DP 2.1 alt mode, exactly. Rob Barter, I see why Mark would not go with 10 gigabit. Go with Thunderbolt 5 to an external disk. I though have a NAS with 10 gigabit fiber in my garage, too far for Thunderbolt. That is correct. I actually do have extremely fast Ethernet cables, or what is it called, RJ or something like that, that standard. I actually have really thick, really premium cables, and I just don't use them for anything really, because I just connect my Apple TV through Ethernet to my router and my PlayStation 5, but of course both of those devices are just 1 gigabit. Apple doesn't support every DP spec and also doesn't support MST. Yes, this is what I'm talking about. This is why I'm trying to tell people, ask Apple engineers, like, make sure that when you get a device, don't be like, oh, I will test like that monitor in 2 months or something like that. No. Test everything as quickly as possible. If it doesn't work and it might be a crucial part of your workflow, return the device. How about heat management? It will handle because they shrunk the size. I'm absolutely not concerned about the base M4. I could see the M4 Pro maybe being louder than the M2 Pro Mac Mini before that. I could see that happening. And then MLV, refreshing my memory. Thank you so much. It's RJ45. Yes. Yeah, so Apple does, there's definitely some stuff that, I mean, Apple could have gone crazy and given us a 20 or 100 gigabit Ethernet port, but I guess 10 gigabit Ethernet for people like Rob, that's cool to have because you have a NAS in your garage. For a lot of people, that's overkill. And for some people who might really want to do like actually set it up as some kind of server, it might actually be too little. Who knows? Schnitzel Noodle, older M-chip Mac Minis didn't have any thermal throttling, did they? No, they didn't have. And I don't expect the M4 Pro Mac Mini to throttle either. I could see it getting hot and potentially getting loud, but I do see Apple managing 50 watts in this kind of like, and by 50 watts, I mean combined max CPU and GPU power draw. I could see them handling that pretty well. Will there be an M4 Studio? Yes, well, there technically will be an M4 Max and an M4 Ultra Max Studio, but those will be, of course, those are coming sometime next year. Maybe closer to the middle of next year, and then the Mac Pro, according to Mark Gurman, is coming sometime in the second half of next year. What about the massive 64 gigabytes of RAM? Would you still go for the Studio since it has 400 gigabit per second bandwidth? No. The problem is you can have more bandwidth, but more bandwidth is not a panacea. It doesn't solve the fact that it has an older architecture CPU, it has no hardware accelerated ray tracing support, it has older media encoders and decoders, it has older neural engines, it has an older SoC design in general, right? So some of the parts might not even communicate as fast and help accelerate each other the way they can on M4, for example. So no, nothing would make me consider the current like M2 Max and M2 Ultra Mac Studio. If there had been maybe an M3 Max and M3 Ultra Mac Studio, that's a different thing, but not M2. No, that's too far away. What will price of M4 Pro laptop? $1,400 in USA. M4 Pro laptop, well, that will take probably the M5 devices to come out before pricing gets pushed down that much. Guys, we've been streaming for about 1.5 hours. We have 150 people in my freaking live stream. This is mind-boggling to me. I see the likes going up. Please push them up. Let us go beyond 40 likes for now. 50 likes very quickly after that. Comment. I love seeing your comments. I love interacting with you. I love growing the community. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here and you think this might be your jam here. And of course, if you want to support this channel directly, you can leave super chats or super stickers right here in the live stream. You can become a channel member. You can become a Patreon supporter. So much. Feel free to ask me anything that might just tickle your fancy. It's all so cool. Since they released the iMac, then the Mac Mini, do you think tomorrow we're going to see the Mac Studio is coming next year. Tomorrow we are getting the MacBook Pro. It would be cool if we got like a new Pro Display XDR support with, you're saying 240 Hertz, it most likely would be 120, and a more advanced mini LED screen, but we haven't heard, unfortunately, rumors in that regard. Injurot Sauna, best mini ever for me. I think this is actually the highest value Mac that Apple has ever done. Guys, we've now pushed, but just by one asking, you've now pushed us almost to 50 likes. Amazing. You get so many likes back from me. 50 likes. Amazing. You're awesome. Is MacBook Pro M4 Pro expected to launch? Yes, tomorrow. Or who knows, Apple might space it out and make us wait until Thursday or Friday. But yeah, I think it's coming tomorrow. Will my Windows displays work with it? Full HD 75 Hz monitor and 180 Hz 2K? Yes, it will. Is TMW the last Apple update? What do you mean TMW? Tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow. Yes, because when you actually go to YouTube and you look at yesterday's iMac announcement video, Jern Turner says that they have 3 Mac-related announcements. This is why I also don't think we are getting any accessories beyond the USB-C accessories, of course, that we got yesterday. Like, I don't think we're getting a surprise Pro Display XDR 2 launch tomorrow, unfortunately. What is the take on the new iMac versus new Mac Mini with equivalent monitor? Well, that is the problem, right? If you really want to go equivalent monitor, there is none. There is no 4.5K 24-inch Retina display external monitor. If you want to look at the Mac Studio display, or the Studio display, that is 5K and 27 inches, but that is obviously not cheap. It costs as much as the iMac itself. However, I really would recommend you just get a 4K screen with 120 Hertz. As much as I love high resolution, I personally prefer even 5K over 4K 120. But and I can really see the difference on like the Pro Display XDR versus any other 4K monitor. Like that 6K really matters. But if you can live with the pixel density of a 27-inch or like a 30-inch 4K display, get it with 120 Hertz. I think you will be better off. And yes, what I wanted to say, the Mac Mini, in my opinion, I expected it to get a double binned M4 chip, like 8 CPU cores, 8 GPU cores, but it's actually fully enabled. That to me just says buy the Mac Mini, combine it with a nice screen, maybe give it 512 gigs of storage, and then use an external drive to augment that even further. And that, in my opinion, will give you a far better deal than the lockdown iMac, right? Because if it comes time to update your performance, well, and you have an iMac, then you have to ask yourself, well, now I have to get another iMac that also combines a screen, which might be outdated because Apple really doesn't like giving the iMacs apparently newer screen tag these days. Or I could just update my performance in the Mac Mini form factor and get external displays on a separate schedule, right? That's a big advantage of desktop tower PCs, and Apple now has that because now they made their desktops so much better than they were in the past. Yeah, NMLV, I know that non-retina displays don't scale right, but then at that point, get like an LG 5K screen, right? I understand what you mean. Yes, macOS does have, unfortunately, some scaling issues on 4K. macOS is really optimized for like 1440p and then like 2880p, which is 5K. Yeah, it's unfortunate though. Like, I wish that we had like a retina display. Harsh Big of 256 GB storage or 512. I always recommend getting 512 or just getting the second lowest version or just the upper version. And that is because it will last you longer, it will cause you less headaches, it might even be a little bit faster. So yeah, you're a graphic designer, video editor, and 3D designer. Yeah, you probably would want your latest project to always be on your drive. At that point, 512 might actually for some projects be the minimum, especially if you also decide to keep some games or like your larger photos and stuff like that on the Mac. Yeah, 512, definitely 512. If you can stomach it, 1 terabyte. Flood Ready, the reason why I'm interested in the Mac Mini or future Mac Pro is because I want to design for the Apple Vision Pro headset. What specs do you think I should have? What's the minimum RAM? I'm not a developer myself, maybe somebody in the community could help you, but I usually recommend getting, because this is what my developer friends have told me, is get something that still has a few more CPU cores and stuff like that, so you have overhead over devices that you are developing for, but you don't need to go crazy. Like, you don't need to get, like, even here with the Mac Mini, I would just get the Bint M4 Pro version, right? And but I wouldn't, for example, wait for an M4 Mac Studio or something like that. Could you still make do with the regular M4? Absolutely. I've heard some people absolutely do crazy things with even base M2s and M3s and stuff like that. But just for some extra peace of mind, of course, only if you can afford it, get the M4 Pro. Better display doesn't do anything and you can still get those res in the option menu. Okay, you guys have your own discussions right now. Mac Mini base is so good. Yeah, $200 for 256 gigs is insane. Absolutely, I agree with that. This is why, for example, I said I would say the best value Apple could have given us in a realistic sense would have given this 512 gigs of storage, but actually priced it at $699, right? That would have made it $100 cheaper than this, would have given you still all the great stuff of the M4, might have actually been still a better profit margin. Of course, yeah, it would have been a better profit margin than this device, and I don't think anybody would have complained. But Apple knows that, for example, this configuration is now so freaking attractive, they probably will just mass order it from their production like crazy. $600 for the whole device and $200 just to upgrade it to 512 gigs of storage. Yes, that is part of, as I said it a few times, this is where the profits come in. Because honestly, at that price here, I wouldn't be surprised if Apple's profit margins are closer to 20% than their usual like 30-35%. And it's only when we get here where they paid like $10 more to make this, but they charged you $200 more, so they made $190 more profit. Yeah, this is what they do. They are very good at all of that. To me, 8-core CPU and 8-core GPU with 512 gigabytes would have been perfect. Well, yes, but at that point, if you think like that, maybe you can don't forget these models will still be like discounted by like 20, 30, maybe even $50 relatively quickly. That's part of Apple's sales pitch. I wouldn't be surprised even if in like 4 months this model was $100 cheaper, which is a pretty gigantic 12.5% discount. So if you can make do with a lower M4, maybe consider still getting an M2 version or something like that. I assume the M2 Pro version will drop like crazy in price. Guys, we are approaching a crazy 180 people in chat. Leave likes like crazy. Let us just go beyond 70 likes, 80 likes. It will attract more people to the stream. It will attract more people to the community. Let us go absolutely freaking apeshit here. Yeah, and of course, here they also still charge $200 more for 8 gigabytes of extra memory. So Apple still likes their very, very high upgrade pricing. Don't get me wrong. I don't deny that. This is not, by the way, I know like I will joke from time to time and like call myself an Apple sheep or something like that. But that is not the vibe of this channel. Whenever it's needed, we criticize Apple. Sometimes I will be a harsh defender of Apple. For example, for devices like the iPad. I know like a lot of the Apple community has like gotten to hate the iPad. Oh, iPad OS is so limited. I have always been a big fan of the iPad. So my channel is very versatile. I hate on some Apple products. Like I wasn't too happy with the iMac before it finally got the 16 gigabytes. I'm still not crazy over the moon for it. I'm not, of course, a huge fan of the $7,000 Mac Pro, even if it's designed to target pros. Pros are not stupid. They're not paying extra money for nothing. They're paying more money because for extra performance, extra versatility, and yeah. So this is definitely like a nuanced channel. This is why we do these long, detailed live streams. I love to get your agreements, your disagreements, your takes. Yeah, this is what I'm trying to do here. Tipper Master, often their base model has lower margin and all the margin is in the $200 upgrades. Yes, exactly. Schnitzel Noodle, I'm a lifelong Windows user who is now finally ready to fully immerse myself in the Mac world. Well, welcome to the community, brother. We can now do like that Finding Nemo thing, like one of us. Lessons in Hilda culture, not gonna lie, I thought the MacBook Pro was gonna be revealed first. I was actually, shout out to myself, you can watch my iMac video yesterday and you can actually follow me on Twitter. The links to all of that stuff is in my channel description. I actually predicted this correctly because my assumption was the iMac will make us talk about the M4, the Mac Mini will make us talk about the M4 Pro, and then the MacBook Pro will make us talk about the M4 Max. So I was actually correct here. Tipple Master, why not Wi-Fi 7 though? You can actually look at Apple specs like in detail. You will find that the iPhone 16 and 16 Pro, while they do have Wi-Fi 7, it's actually still limited to the same 2.4 gigabits per second as the Wi-Fi 6E in the iPhone 15 Pro Max. So Apple has a newer, more efficient Wi-Fi module in the iPhones, but maybe they just didn't think the Max needed it right away. It could have been that the Macs have been so long in development that they just didn't even consider Wi-Fi 7 during its development phase. So there's a lot of pro and cons here. Guys, as I say, when you write at me, for one, you can actually, I believe, write at MarkTech or something. Then I will more likely to see your message. But if you want me to be guaranteed to read your message, make it a super chat because this is the most engaged live stream we've ever had. One of us, Lost in Translation podcast. I'm glad I bought my 14-inch M3 Max 14-inch 30-core GPU, 14 CPU cores, 30 GPU cores with 36 gigs of memory and 1 terabyte SSDs. That is an amazing system. It's not too dissimilar from my fully enabled M1 Max 14-inch MacBook Pro. So yeah, I don't think you have to regret anything unless you bought it like yesterday. Orion Quest, I'm lazy, favor all-in-ones like my M1 iMac, but I really want a Pro chip upgrade. Yeah, that is also part of the problem. If Apple was still very, very aggressive in what they do with the iMac, that's one thing, right? But given that they have been really subdued with the iMac, ever after the iMac Pro, I would say is the last like really advanced iMac, it's really hard to put your trust into the iMac family, right? OSH, it's either the base cheapest or go wild with M4 Pro, could always go external HD, right? Absolutely, and we had people here in the community confirm that you are getting you are getting that the App Store now supports installations to external drives. Could you tell me how much maximum refresh rate this Mac Mini M4 will offer? Max will be 240 Hz at 4K. I don't know if in software you could make that be 480 at 1080p. Technically, the bandwidth would be there, but it's not a tech spec that Apple advertises, right? They just mention 240 at 4K. So hope that helps. I doubt people in the Mac community really have screens beyond 240 Hz because there probably aren't too many gamers. But yeah, if you are like an esports gamer and you have a 360 or 480 Hz PC monitor, yeah, that might not be supported. But maybe somebody in the community could tell you. If you're a pro, you're going to use Ethernet. Well, I do use Ethernet on my PlayStation, my Apple TV, never really on my MacBook. Guys, don't forget to take the education discount. Absolutely correct. If you can do it, because either you're a student or a teacher, do that. Get the education discount. Help out your friends. Buy the Mac for them. Of course, get the money back. What would be better, the M4 Mac Mini or Mac Studio M2? The M4 Mac Mini, in my opinion. The single core performance is just too crazy. Of course, if what you're doing is GPU limited, well, now you do have two problems, because technically, yes, the Mac Studio has more raw GPU power, but it's also limited by older technology at that point, like a lack of hardware accelerated ray tracing, a lack of mesh shading, a lack of dynamic caching, right? So technically, I would still get M4, especially M4 Pro Mac Mini. What would be better? The Mac Mini M4, Mac Studio M2, we have already seen that. MarkTech, is it worth upgrading from M1 MacBook Pro 16 gigabytes to M4 iMac 32 gigabytes now? Whew, sheesh. Well, the performance is there, definitely, especially with double the memory. You're getting a lot of versatility for your system. But if you are doing like web browsing and emails and light photo editing and stuff like that, I still think you should be happy with M1. $100 discount is so little. Well, $100 discount, yes, is so little until you consider. I don't actually think you will get a $100 discount on the $799 model even, but maybe once you go above 1,000, and then 10% isn't bad. Better little than nothing. I agree with Harsh Bargoff. M1 MacBook Pro is outdated now. NMLW, don't go too crazy. It still has the latest macOS version, all the Apple intelligence support. I know what you're saying. Of course, the M4 uplift is insane, especially in single core. But don't completely downplay older tech, you sneaky. Do you think you can play new games like Diablo 4 on the M4 Pro? Yes, wait. Does Diablo 4 plan to get an Apple Silicon native version? Because you can do a lot through crossover and even to a degree through parallels. But again, Mac unfortunately is not limited for gaming because of its raw performance. It's limited because of the support, like the amount of games that are supported. But it's interesting. One thing that I actually didn't expect, I expected the M4 Pro model to have Thunderbolt 5 ports. Well, I expected it to either be Thunderbolt 4 or 5. But on the front, it's USB-C ports for both, right? So there isn't an extra Thunderbolt controller actually giving those ports data. It's just USB. Interesting. Would the Thunderbolt 5 worth reason for choosing Mac Mini M4 Pro over a simple Mac Mini M4? No, unless you know you can utilize it, or you're looking forward to technology that you can utilize it. Don't forget, you still get support for high refresh at 4K, especially with the HDMI 2.1 port. You still get very fast support for external storage and even NAS-like devices. No, if you don't have the need for extra performance, or you know that you can leverage Thunderbolt 5, don't get it just so that you can make a check mark on your wall. Oh, my device supports Thunderbolt 5. Guess now I have the longest dick or whatever. Nah, if you really don't need it, don't pay for it. M1 is good to go for another 2 to 3 years. Yeah, absolutely agree. Just gigabit Ethernet, seriously, Ferry Verdianto. Well, you can pay for 10 gigabit Ethernet. I know that a lot of like PCs have started integrating like 2.5 gigabit Ethernet, but my internet at home is limited to 250 Mbits, so I never need more than 1 gigabit anyway. Okay, yeah, I cannot, of course, tell you how many more years of upgrades M4 will get versus M2. I would assume probably 2. How do you turn it on? It doesn't see the power button. Wait, it doesn't? Why did I assume it would have one on the back? It's because of the renders, right? I actually don't know. Let us get into the tech specifications. Guys, does anybody know? Has anybody of you looked into what the button situation might be like here? 24 M4 Pro for pro gaming may be better than M4. Absolutely. You get extra, while some programming, if you're writing like really very little code, you might be happy with 4 performance cores and stuff like that. Up to 10 performance cores, but even just 8 is absolutely like bonkers. Plus the higher bandwidth for running larger tasks, especially once you decide to actually like launch an app, right? Even in like the Xcode testing emulation environment. Yeah, for that it's definitely better. There is support on the bottom. I love you guys. This is why I always wanted to stream, so I get to have you guys as like my beehive here. Is it really on the bottom, like beyond here? That is crazy, chat. I'm now going to be like XQC. I'm going to be like, it's crazy, chat. Then half an hour of silence, and then again, it's crazy, chat, and then another hour of silence. Nisa Taylor, I already ordered one, the base model. Again, the base model, such great value, especially if you're willing to combine it with a good external drive. Chef's kiss. Just the ability to save money up front is always very important. But yeah, guys, thank you. I guess the port is on the bottom, but Apple doesn't give me a great way. Oh, is there like an AR? Watch an ASL. What is that? No, that's... Is there no AR Mac Mini? Built to chill. Yeah, if they had an 3D Mac Mini, I could turn it around and see it. But I'll believe you guys. And Nisa Taylor, T7 Samsung SSD, absolutely classic combo. And even look here, Apple is even advertising it with the Logitech what is it called? This I have this mouse. How could I? The Master 3S, right? That's what it's called. The MX Master 3. Yeah, like Apple knows that people don't just use, of course, the Magic Mouse. Damn, I wonder what the M4 Max will be. More interested in the Max RAM. I assume max RAM will be still 128 gigabytes, but that's still a lot, of course. Then I assume the Ultra will support. Wait, no, the M3. Yeah, the M3 Max will be. I believe I said that the Ultra would be 512. No, the Ultra would be 256 gigabytes max, because the Max would be 128 gigabytes again. Yeah, so I apologize. I got that wrong before that. Thank you for the advice. 192, I hope. It would be cool if the Max could now go beyond 128 to matching what you have on the M2 Ultra, which would be 192. Logitech MX Master is the best mouse, period. Yeah, I don't have it with me. I didn't actually take it with me on my vacation visiting family, but yeah, I agree. I still, my favorite accessory is actually Apple's Magic Trackpad, but they didn't put it on the site here. Twig saying, I ordered the Pro with 48 gigs of RAM and 2 terabytes of storage. Gonna watch so many YouTube videos on this baby. Yes, give a shout out to Twigs for the ultimate usage of a 48 gig system. Tipo Master, and the Magic Mouse is the worst mouse. Nope, it's not, but it does have its issue. I never got why everyone's main concern with it was the bottom charging port. I would argue that's because a lot of people actually like the Magic Mouse. And I think if you actually use it throughout the day, you learn to use it in a way that doesn't cramp your hand. If you just use it once at the Apple Store, I agree, it's a nightmare. But that's not going to be your long-term experience. Guys, help us go beyond 80 likes. We still have over 150 people watching. That should be pretty easy for all of you to do. Help us grow, help us attract more people, help us create even more diversity of opinion here. A slight right to the take a closer look section. Oh yeah, that should be that. Right, this is where it's a closer look, or you know what though, I believe you guys here anyway. Because the problem is I don't want to swipe again and show you, as I did in one of my previous streams, and show you like my notifications, because sometimes I am too stupid to do the proper swipe. Dive into materials and design. Oh, this could be it. Carbon neutral. Nope, it's not that either. Kollega, I assume you're German and a fan of Kollega. Mark, I'm your biggest fan. Please do a God of War Let's Play sometimes. So I guess you're coming from Twitter, because you know that I do like to cover some PlayStation related stuff. I will actually be covering soon my PlayStation 5 Pro, I guess you could say, review, because yeah, I ordered one and I'm soon getting one. Twigs, you were there. My God, I'm so stupid today for some reason. I was there. Is it here? You know what? I'm giving up. Lessons in Hilda Culture. Bro, it was there. Okay, so we are here, right? I do have some latency set up, so the stream is actually stable. Am I still missing it? Or was there like take a closer look? What did they say? Take a closer look. Oh, it's here. I'm sorry. I'm so stupid. I was still looking for the augmented reality 3D version. It didn't even... oh, but that makes sense because it's now a bit more elevated. You can actually still hit the power button without moving it too crazy. And yeah, we actually look at that thermal stuff right in the beginning. Guys, we hit 80 likes. Thank you so much. Keep on liking. Let us go even beyond that. Let me actually, for a second, let me continue to see what Apple's newsroom posting is. For one, they talk about Apple Intelligence. So, of course, iOS 18.1, macOS Sequoia 15.1, all of that came out yesterday. It's still English and US limited for iOS, but not for macOS, where, of course, macOS is not, it's still not officially available outside the US, but you can trick your system to believing you are in the US unless you are in the European Union on iOS and iPadOS. But on macOS, you can actually do the trick too, because macOS is not designated as a gatekeeper by the European Union. If any of you wondering, I'm streaming from Germany. This is why I don't have all the crazy Apple Intelligence stuff, even though every one of my devices is using up-to-date betas. So yeah, I unfortunately cannot give you too many hands-on impressions about Apple Intelligence thus far. Do you like to have power button on the bottom? I don't think I dislike it. I think I like it more though than having it on the back. I never liked having my power button on the back, but also very much at the side of my late 2012 iMac. So yeah, I'm probably not hating it. Will you buy the new Mac Mini? Nope. I'm still very much happy with my M1 Max 14-inch MacBook Pro. M4 Pro starting at 24 gigs of RAM is cool. Yeah, basically Apple is very crazy in that regard. Apple didn't basically think, oh, we are adding like double the RAM, right, for the same price. They thought of like, no, we added 8 gigs of RAM, so we should add 8 gigabytes to the other system too, right? That's very interesting the way they think. They don't quite see how much extra value the base version now has and how bad that makes the upgrades look, like the $200 for 256 gigabytes of storage, the $200 for 8 gigabytes of extra memory. Yeah, it's very, very, it's crazy, chat. It's crazy, chat. The first carbon neutral Mac. Makes sense, right? It's a small Mac. They can use a lot of recycled aluminum and stuff like that for it. And it comes with macOS Sequoia. Oh, there is $100. Oh my God, guys, I actually have to fight some of you who said that $100 is not a lot for a discount. For the Mac Mini, the base version, it's actually crazy because $100 here is it's closer to 20% than it is to a 10% discount. This is a super aggressive education pricing. I thought they might only start giving you $100 once you go, like discounts once you go well above $1,000 in pricing. My guys, if you can get the education prices, please get the 512 gigabyte version here for $699 at that point. That's crazy. Probably even less, maybe like $680, right? What, that would be cool. Alpina 4B4 saying hello. Harsh Bargav, bro, that what I was saying, education discount. Yeah, but I thought for some reason it would only apply here because somebody responded to you and said, oh, it's only $100. And I would agree that it's only $100 for this configuration because it's a very small percentage of the actual price. But for this is crazy. Daniel is saying, I think it's better to go for minimum 24 gigs of RAM to be future-proof. If you can, yes, but if you really are watching YouTube videos and doing stuff like that, I would argue more storage is more important because you will still have swap even on a 24 gigabyte system. And if you have more storage, even slightly faster storage, you basically deal with that strain from memory swap better. Get the base at $499 would be the highest value. Yes, highest value, I agree, but still don't forget that sometimes the needs are still higher. But of course, if you get it maybe for like a school, you could still hook all those Mac Minis up to one storage system where they all share storage. That would definitely pump up its value quite a bit. 85 likes. You guys are going absolutely ham. So crazy. Guys, we've been streaming now for exactly 2 hours. I don't like being too pushy, but this is important. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, share the video to anybody who you think might enjoy it. Comment. You see, I love interacting with you live. Consider becoming a direct supporter of the channel. You can become a channel member right here on YouTube. You can become a supporter over on Patreon, or you can even leave a small donation right now in the form of a super chat or a super sticker right in the live chat. It's guaranteed to get a response from me, a pretty enthusiastic response, a longer discussion about whatever question you might have had. So so many ways to support it, but of course, just watching, just tuning live, helping grow the community, it's all so greatly appreciated. Thank you so much. Harsh Bhargav, Apple gotta be kidding. $4.99 is actually crazy. They can be an absolute monopoly with it. Yeah. If $4.99 was the default price, I think a lot of people would even forgive them for 256 gigabytes. I apologize, I cannot read your name, but you're asking, I do 3D stuff and regularly go to 32 gig swap memory. My highest record was 50 gigabyte swap. Everything lags so bad at 16 gigs only. Yes, 3D workflows, super high-end video render editing, that stuff really pushes memory usage, or if you don't have enough memory, it really pushes swap. So in that regard, but I tend to not make my recommendation based on what people like you might need, because I expect professionals or even like high-end enthusiasts to already know what they need, right? It's the people watching YouTube videos and sending emails who tend to overestimate their needs and overpay, and that is what I'm trying to prevent. So thank you so much for mentioning your specific use case. Maybe somebody else can even compare their use case to yours, and that might help them make a decision themselves. So let us actually go to the main Mac Mini website here. So Apple has, since the dawn of age with the Mac Mini, Steve Jobs said it's basically the bring your own keyboard and mouse device, right? So it doesn't come with accessories out of the box except for a charging cable. Apple here wants to push gaming even with a DualSense PS5 controller. They have this non-Apple keyboard, so they're really pushing the fact that you can use this outside the regular Apple ecosystem. Harsh Bhargav saying, I didn't get it. What is swap memory? Well, if you're using a task, usually most of it will sit in system memory. That's RAM for us, right? Random access memory. That is what is LPDDR storage for Apple. That's low power. Those are low power RAM modules. Apple uses currently 5X. The specific technology here is either 7500 mega transfers, or even in the M4 Pro, it actually uses 8533 memory. So this is where most of your task will sit. Well, of course, a lot of it will also sit on the chip itself with system level cache and stuff like that, but that's not so important. However, consider you have a task on a 16 gigabyte system that actually might need 18, 12, 22 gigabytes, right? What will your system do? Well, what other gigabytes, right? In the most basic way, what other gigabytes does your system have? Well, it has SSD storage. Now, SSD storage is it's like 2 orders of a magnitude, I believe, slower than memory right now, right? It depends a little bit which exact RAM and storage we're comparing, right? However, you can still technically use it a bit like memory, especially SSD storage, because you can have instant access to it, similar to how you have with RAM. It's not that easy for a hard drive because you have that spinning disk and then like a needle that reads it out all basically. And so you can technically use some of your storage as memory. However, that will cause a lot of wear and tear on your storage. So if you have high memory demands, usually people will recommend you get a system with a lot of memory to actually do that, because otherwise you will constantly be accessing SSD. that SSD will still run way slower than your memory, so it could become a bottleneck for how fast that task runs on your system, and it will cause a lot of read and write cycles on your storage and lead to it faster degrading. So that's it. Do PS5 controllers work wirelessly on Mac? Yes, they do, and they actually work really well, and actually with the latest game mode optimizations, it actually brings down latency. Apple pushed Bluetooth speeds or something like that. Oni-chan is name pronunciation. Okay, I guess you're an anime fan. Yes, the USB-C change is so good, which made me consider an iMac now. Well, true, because while you might not be getting Thunderbolt 5 on the iMac, getting full 4 Thunderbolt 4 ports definitely will increase the value of the iMac for people with higher needs. Yeah. What else? Apple Intelligence, again. Control, okay, I didn't even know that Control was getting an Apple Silicon port. That's cool. Take a closer look. So, of course, we know it's tiny 5 by 5 inches. I expected it, one thing that I actually expected to happen, I expected it to get taller, right? But it seems like Apple was just absolutely going crazy and maximizing internal space there and keeping it super duper small. This is how it looks next to the new iMac with that new, wait, is that no, that should be a studio display. Did the studio display get upgraded to that magnetic power supply cable of the iMac, or is that the old design? Because I was tricked by that for a second visually. No, it's definitely the studio display. It has one Thunderbolt input, and then it has 3 USB-Cs that you could still use and connect to it. But I was a little bit confused by what cable it's using here. Daniel Johnson, do all PC keyboards and mouse work on Mac? Basically, yeah. There's very little that is not supported. Maybe something ancient wouldn't, but you should probably look on the internet. Most stuff mentions, oh, we work fine with Mac OS and stuff like that. Of course, if you can get a native Mac keyboard, for example, so you have all the typical Mac keys, because the Windows keyboard, of course, has different keys, so it might lead to some confusion, or you just get something to glue over that, put a sticker over that with function, control, option, and command, rather than the Windows buttons and stuff like that. Considering the price and value, Thunderbolt 4 is still more than enough for most cases. Absolutely. KF Cheetah, Apple keyboard finally coming, replacing Lightning and connectivity with USB-C. Yep, that was announced yesterday. DJ Mechanicum, I'm pondering over an M4 non-Pro to run Ableton Live. I actually don't know. I'm sorry, I don't use it. D Showtimes, the monitors for tomorrow's announcement would be cool. I wouldn't be complaining, but I assume it's still just the regular one. So they're comparing it to the top selling PC. I don't think that the top selling PC right now is 6 times slower than this iMac, but I assume they chose something maybe from from some months ago, maybe a year or so ago. You can get the pre-built obviously for a lot with a lot of good hardware for $1,000, for even $600. While it will be slower, especially in single core performance, neural engine performance integrated, you aren't even getting one on integrated build on pre-builds of that price. You could use, of course, your GPU for neural engine stuff, but that's a different thing. Yeah, so that's a slightly questionable claim. I'm sure they won't actually mention the exact system. What is number 3? So testing was on the fully enabled M4 Pro here. Actually still with 256 gigs of system. Oh, okay, so it's an i7 based system with UHD graphics 770, 16 gigs of RAM and 512 gigs of SSD. They were running, okay, so they were running it basically from the integrated graphics. which nobody in their right mind would build themselves a PC above $500 and not have some kind of like, you can go to like eBay and get like a used GTX 1050 at least, and it will be basically free now that the Bitcoin mining craze is over. Yeah, it's a bit of a weird comparison. Then they have Lightroom Classic, that I could actually see if it's an old CPU here. Then they have H.264 media stuff. Okay, I guess most tasks will probably not be 6 times faster, but maybe some are. Alice, why didn't they announce all at once? What do you mean? Why would that make you feel like they're out of ideas if they just want to space out their announcements? Makes sense to me. On the Apple Intelligence video from Apple, there's one part that concerns me. They said, ask Siri to fill in your passport, and they just hope nobody... No, you ask Siri that, but the data is already on your device. It's not like, and it doesn't guess the data. It won't do that like just randomly. That is not a very AI feature. It's just that you ask Siri to do it, and that's, I guess, an improvement on what Siri could do before. Harsh Bargov, I have LG 24-inch 2K monitor. Will be there any scaling issues? Yes, there will be, but you can still make it work. Most people do, but yeah, it's unfortunate. Like, unless you're going with, like, I believe somebody here in the chat actually mentioned the resolutions and display sizes. Yeah, you will get scaling issues. Oh, my Coke is over. Damn. Check out M4 Pro and M4. Built to chill. Okay. So looks small, lifts large, 2 USB-C ports, 1 headphone jack, already covered that. Front I/O, back I/O, we covered the nuance between like what displays are supported, the difference between TB4 and TB5 from the M4 and the M4 Pro version, the ability to get 10 gigabit Ethernet. Built to chill, this is their video and how they show it. So they said there are like multiple levels. So I guess the benefit that they're trying to advertise here is that you're charging these boards, which I assume would be like a mother and a daughter board. You're charging them both from the top and bottom, especially like the top one, right? Because the airflow goes like this. And then the heat, yeah, so it's interesting. Where would the and it also gets exhausted below too, right? So it would have to, I guess this system wouldn't make me worried if there would be exhaust on the top, but then of course the Mac Mini wouldn't look so pretty. So I guess it still has to exhaust the air out of the ports on down below too. Okay, which is interesting. So I guess it breathes in cold air from the front and then exhausts it warm out of the back. So it is a user-friendly approach. But for example, when I talked to somebody in the beginning, well, if you want your headphone jack in the back, technically you can turn it around. And let's forget the impracticality of having the power cable be facing towards you, but it would also result in the warm air flowing towards you, right? Am I getting this correctly? I'm using AOC 24-inch. Okay, Ferry saying that he doesn't have scaling issues on his 24-inch 2K monitor. $499 starting price with an education discount is amazing. It doesn't even have the bin chip like the iMac. It's the best value Mac ever. Yes, if you actually follow me on Twitter, this is exactly what I said. The source you'll say, I'll stick with my Apple Magic Mouse as I'm left-handed and the Logitech won't work for me. They do sometimes make though like left-handed versions. I'm not sure if the master is available in a left-handed version, but you should look out. But yeah, if you're happy with the Magic Mouse, of course, why wouldn't you? Is it good or bad for the stock, you think? I think this kind of excitement is good for the stock in general. However, I think Apple stock is so high. The fact that what matters most to it is probably that they are keeping pushing Apple Intelligence. I think that matters way more than any individual product here. So let's continue. So yeah, okay. So they're breathing in hot air from the front. They're breathing in cold air from the front and exhausting hot air from the back. Okay. Well, I trust Apple in general. The problem with Apple and thermals is never their lack of engineering. It's usually them cheaping out a little. So, and with what they're showing here, they probably thought something here to be like, they are creative definitely in how they're doing it. It's definitely difficult, especially to cool the M4 Pro in such a small chassis, but it's not impossible, especially considering that the base M series chips are kind of more designed to be like passively cooled, and with active cooling, even the slightest one, they're basically like forever cool. It's then with the M4 Pro where active cooling becomes necessary, so maybe the fan gets louder, but I still hope it's a very subtle device, like it doesn't make your whole room go boom boom. How to dust clean it? Yeah, it's, you know, the meme like, never ask a man his salary, a woman her age, and then and ... and I guess for Apple it would be, and how to dust clean some of their actively cooled products. The power button is at the bottom, back now, just at the back. Apple works with 1.5x regular PC resolution. That's coming from Oni-chan. So it's 24 inches at 1080p, 27 inches at 2K, 24. Yeah, okay. So if anybody wants to consult great resolutions and display combinations, look at Oni-chan's latest messaging. Guys, if any of you, we are at 110 viewers still, if any of you can push us above 100 likes, which probably would be the fastest any video of mine ever got 100 likes, keep on just pushing the like button. Not if you have already pushed it though, but go to an extra account, go to an extra device and keep on hitting the like button. Just kidding. We can all chill. So check out M4 and M4 Pro. There is some very basic stuff, I guess, here. Rich presentations, immersive gaming, full-on video production. M4 can power any pursuit. Its incredible single-threaded CPU performance brings speed and responsiveness to your to the things you do every day, while outstanding multi-threaded CPU performance and high bandwidth unified memory help you tackle almost anything you put your mind to. So 10-core CPU, 10-core GPU, and this is not up to, so in comparison to what we had with the iMac, there is no double or triple binning here. 16-core neural engine, 32 gigs of up to 32 gigs of unified memory, 128 gigabytes per second of memory bandwidth. Those are all very familiar specs at this point. They actually have some benchmarks for us. That's actually cool. Tipplemaster, I wonder if they explore novel new ways of cooling. Yeah, I understand. There are like these vibration thingies, right? But who knows? A lot of that stuff has also something to do that Apple really, they pride themselves in good customer service. And the issue is that if devices start failing because of a novel technology, then whoever was the engineer who suggested it and was most responsible for it will get completely axed. So there is a value, there's like a problem here with high expectations that keeps Apple from embracing certain like crazier technologies. But yeah, liquid metal cooling, it does help. It helps dissipate the heat better from the chip itself. It doesn't actually add that much thermal mass. That still has to be like a aluminum or copper cooling system on top. That being said, yes, there is of course still room for like for newer technologies to improve it. Playbot, do you think that 24 gigabytes of RAM in the M4 Pro is going to be better than the normal M4 with 32 gigabytes RAM for editing? Yes, I do believe that. Unless, of course, you really tried for a task that is designed to max out memory, right? Like you're using multiple like 8K files or ProRes 4K. Yes. But if you're working with regular, somewhat manageable H.264, H.265 files, I really don't see often being limited by 24 gigs of memory. So productivity, faster spreadsheet performance, Mac Mini with M4 versus Mac. Okay, so the baseline here is actually Intel Core i7 that makes the scaling calculation a bit more complicated because it's not the M1 that is the baseline. But you can see, so like I know some people said here like, oh, the M1 is outdated. But look, the M4 isn't even twice as fast as the Mac Mini, as the M1 Mac Mini here. And again, photo editing, while this is a nice 75%, actually 80% improvement in performance here, it's not a doubling of performance, right? And of course, if you already have M2 and you're just working on photo processing in Affinity Photo, which I assume is probably not yet optimized to just fully leverage M4 crazy single core performance. Guys, we just hit 100 likes. That's so crazy. I'm so grateful to you. I guess some of you listened to my crazy demands and decided to go for like to like an extra account and give me a like. This is absolutely phenomenal. But yeah, obviously, if you're coming from old x86 Macs, Intel systems, getting a big upgrade, 7.2x is 720. I'm not comparing versus the Intel Core i7, my brother. I'm comparing to the 4x that the M1 Mac Mini got. And if you actually 4 times 1.75, 0.75 of 4 is 3, so jumping to that, right? 0.2 of 4 is 5%, so you're going from 1.75 to 1.8 to be exactly. If I'll open the calculator on my iPad. 7.2 divided by 4 is 18. Yeah, so it's 1.8 in this exact scenario. Yep. Where do I have it still? Where's all my fine YouTube chat? Cannot leave you guys alone. You keep on leaving likes like crazy. And Mitchell Quartero saying, I'm upgrading from my 2019 MacBook Air. Well, you'll have an amazing experience with that. Daniel Johansson, one bad thing with buying a Mac Mini is it breaks. You can repair it compared to a PC. To a degree, yes, that is a problem. Though Apple has gotten much better both in DIY repairs and given more parts to like not just smaller shops and stuff like that. So it's not entirely impossible. Do you think I should upgrade my M1 16 gigabytes MacBook Air to Mac Mini, which I assume you mean like an M4 Mac Mini? The problem is this is not fully an upgrade, right? Because the MacBook Air is portable. So if you know you can really benefit from the performance, and at the same time you also know that you can really leverage like whatever is like you don't really benefit too much from a laptop itself, then yes, but otherwise probably no. Then we have these crazy DNA sequencing from Oxford Nanopore. Again, not ever really doubling M1 performance. So while I'm not doing this to downplay the M4, I'm just trying to tell you there is still a lot of value in the M1 devices. Whoever has M1 devices, and I have been asked now many times by M1 owners, there is a lot of that you can get from your M1 still. Music creation. Okay, so that's 50% faster than M1. That's actually pretty good. That suggests there is a lot of leveraging of just how fast the main M4 CPU core is. You can see that there was barely any uplift going from M1 to M2. Gaming, almost actually close to doubling M1 performance, and this is without hardware accelerated ray tracing in the game, so that's nice. But you of course can see that the M2 Mac Mini got you most of the way there already, so the uplift here is not too crazy, basically 30%. But yes, if you were ever trying to game with an old Mac Mini with Intel Core i7, the upgrade is quite huge, and it's similar here too. And actually AI stuff is over twice as fast on M4 than it is on M1, but of course the uplift over M2 is much less dramatic. That being said, the M4 Pro, suddenly Apple starts mentioning ray tracing too. Thunderbolt 5, we've talked about that already. Still 16-core neural engine, so that doesn't mean, however, that your AI task won't run faster, because of how tightly integrated everything is on an Apple-made SoC. There is a lot of value from like integrating the machine learning accelerators on the CPU, the immense raw performance of the GPU, and combining that with the very efficient, very optimized neural engine. Plus, they are showing Control actually supporting ray tracing here, which I assume this would be like more accurate ambient occlusion or shadows, because we don't actually see too many reflections here. Yeah, but that's interesting. I might actually try out Control. Granted, I have a Mac that doesn't support ray tracing, but it would be cool to maybe compare my M1 Max MacBook Pro to how it runs on my PS5. Boris saying, thank you so much for your answer. You're welcome. Tipo Master, I wish they could just pay Valve for an It Just Works Windows Steam game layer for Macs. GPT is the start. Is it called GPT? Oh, no, it's Game Porting Toolkit, right. But 99% of users won't do those steps. Yes, that's because GPT is actually designed for developers to quickly port their games, hopefully actually bring them to the App Store rather than Steam, which is what I've seen recently. There's actually been a decent influx of Mac gaming, and I highly recommend you guys check out the channel. Probably most of you know him from Mr. Mac Wright. Why is it? Right, he covers a lot of Mac ports and stuff like that. And what's really surprised me is seeing how many games are coming to Mac, but then are bound to Steam or sometimes GOG, right? So if you just go to the Mac App Store and you're like disappointing, the lack of games, sometimes go to Steam. I know Steam doesn't have the best Mac client, but it will be definitely a bit more eye-opening for you in what you can get rather than just the Mac App Store. So M4 Pro here, this is comparing to the Mac Mini with Intel Core i7 as a baseline. You see nice 50% uplift versus even the M2 Pro and Microsoft Excel, 25% uplift in Affinity Photo. So I assume this is really just like, single core performance. DNA sequencing, again, really destroying the fact that the integrated GPU in that Intel Core i7 is garbage. Music creation, a nice big uplift in Logic Pro, where this delivers you like 80% more performance of the M2 Pro, which I assume that's because Apple is even better at leveraging every core available, right? Especially considering, don't forget, the M4 Pro has more performance cores even than the M2 Pro. So you can see some of the improvement that you get by getting a first-party application versus a third-party application. Oni-chan saying, nowadays manufacturers stop making good smaller monitors, so the only 24-inch Retina monitor is Wacom Cintiq Pro 24. Well, you heard it here, guys. Daniel Johansson, can I remote control a Mac Mini from my PC? Yes, you can. It does support apps like TeamViewer and stuff like that. It might not support absolutely every remote control app, but it does support some. Alice saying, I believe an 18 to 20 inch size would be great. Well, you're going a lot smaller than most people, I guess, would want to. Gaming, you have why do you have no uplift over the M2 Pro? Is this task entirely limited by the amount of cores? This is a very small uplift, especially given like the almost 40% uplift in memory bandwidth. This is weird. Is this game CPU limited? Did Apple not test it in a very advantageous way for the GPU? Weird. And then AI transcription, again, we see nice 30-40% uplifts versus M2's neural engine, but of course versus a chip that didn't even have a neural processing units, the uplifts are quite huge. So actually good for Apple. This is a very consumer-friendly way to get some insight into this. I'm not complaining about it. Ivan Ivanov, there is a software solution for scaling, better displays the app. Oh, I actually have it even. I use it sometimes to force my TV into 1440p 120 hertz rather than 4K 60, but for some reason after like a certain macOS update that stopped working. So I cannot promise people that better display will solve everything, but yes, it can be a solution. So those are all the advantages of the actual chips in question. Guys, I have you here 2.5 hours into the stream. If you're enjoying this, which I assume you are because there's still almost 90 people watching, consider subscribing to the channel, becoming members of the community by either subscribing to the YouTube channel or even becoming full-on channel members, which there are a few different versions that you can subscribe and directly support this channel with. You can leave chats as super chats or super stickers right here in the live stream, help out tremendously. All money gets reinvested right back into the channel, and you can also become supporters over on Patreon. So many ways for you to support what I'm doing here. Yeah, so productivity, creativity, STEM, I don't think any of that is crazy like new. Then they talk, of course, about more and more Apple Intelligence. This is them showing the studio display, hoping they might finally sell out of how many they were probably sitting on, now that they might have an even more popular desktop. It all has these features: iPhone mirroring, universal keyboard, clipboard, AirDrop. Again, this is all pretty clear to us. The support for all those kinds of accessories. Yeah, nothing crazy here. Let us actually go into the bias section and see what we can set up here. Let's just start at the absolute basic, right? Now, of course, we talked about the outrageous pricing for 8 gigs of extra memory. For storage, it's ironic because the storage upgrading becomes higher value, of course, as you go along. But let's just say you want 2 terabytes. Let's say you as a regular consumer might still not need 10 gigabit Ethernet, even though I know some of you might disagree with that. So that brings you up to $17.99, which is not a little, but to be honest, that's not bad for an Apple device. For a fully enabled chip, feeding it with a lot of data through 32 gigabytes, 2 terabytes. And I mean, let's go just a bit more like even smart, right? At $1,200, I doubt, like, if you really would need more storage, that at that point add like 2 terabytes of external storage to 1 terabyte, and you will probably never be in big need. And most of us will probably not feel a difference between 32 and 24 gigabytes of memory, especially if you have a decent amount of fast storage to swap to. And you know what? At $1,200, well, now that's suddenly a pricing. Well, yes, of course, a self-made PC might be better value in raw performance, but this is an Apple device. It does have its own advantages, from the ultra-fast core of the M4 to the integration with the Apple ecosystem, to the fact that all of unified memory is actually available for processing, even for stuff like AI computation, which to get a 24 gigabyte RTX card, right, so that you can handle large graphics files in memory, that will get you an RTX 4090. Like, you would have to pay more than this system to get a GPU. Well, that's on the NVIDIA front. You can get an RTX, you can get an RX what is it, 7900 XTX for $1,000, probably for 800. So if you go AMD, you go cheaper, but AMD isn't that great at AI computation either. Granted, this won't be a great AI like computational flagship product either, but you guys understand what I'm getting at. Can you turn off Apple Intelligence so Apple doesn't spy on your data? Yes, but Apple also doesn't spy on your data. They have no need for it because they don't sell your data, and they don't sit on your data to just improve all of their services. This is what a lot of people don't understand. Big companies aren't evil to be evil. They're evil sometimes because it benefits them. It benefits data to have your data, to sell it to advertisement companies. The same for Google. For Google, it's also an even bigger benefit to have your data to feed all of their emerging AI technology and stuff like that. Plus, Google offers you a lot of stuff for free. They don't have hardware like Apple that they sell you at a hefty profit margin, right? So they need to make their money somewhere, and as long as that money isn't generated the way Apple can generate it, which is pretty high profit margin hardware, they have to find other solutions. So yeah, you can turn off Apple Intelligence. Can we use portable SSD for it? Yes, but get a decently fast one. The default 256 gigabyte is ridiculous. We've covered that. Yes, I've said that I think that Apple should have increased the base price by $100 and made the 512 gigabyte version basically $100 cheaper than it would be here, right? So currently 512 gigabytes is $799. In my suggestion, it would be $699, and we would completely lose out on the 256 gigabyte configuration. So the 10 gigabit Ethernet update, 10 gigabit Ethernet has gotten a lot cheaper recently, but Apple is still sticking to $100, which was quite good value for that upgrade like a few years prior. Now it's mediocre value, but I guess, again, this is those kinds of upgrades where Apple generates their profits. So these are just versions of the base M4. Now let's look into the M4 Pro. Now the M4 Pro starts now at $1399. That's an increase over the $1299 as before. However, you do get 8 gigabytes more memory and a dramatically faster chip. Let us actually, I actually have a comparison page here. So this was M2 Pro. Let's look M2 Pro. Yeah, so the M2 Pro, oh man, what were the versions? M2 Pro. Yeah, the M2 Pro also came with binned CPU actually in the as a start, but that one had 6 performance cores and 4 efficiency cores, while this new one will now have, I believe, 8 performance cores and 4 efficiency cores, right? So even in its base configuration, it's so much better. And yeah, so they don't list all the base configurations, unfortunately. That would be a very good way to quickly get a lot of data. Oni-chan saying, I do Mac game development. GPTK is basically Apple's own port of Wine, and it works quite well. Yeah, that's what I've heard from YouTubers like Andrew Tsai and other people covering that. It's mainly for enabling older Windows games to run on Mac, but more devs are making Mac games now. Yeah, and I hope that as the Switch 2 becomes a lot more powerful than the Switch 1, and it keeps getting more ports too, that ARM-focused development will get better in general. But I guess the API itself, which for Apple would be Metal, is more important even than just like, oh, am I coding for x86 or am I coding for ARM? The year of the Mac gaming meme is still strong, yes. I think that probably Vadim from MaxTech is to blame for it, because he's been promising the year of Mac gaming for every year, for the last 4 years. yeah, so the value proposition is really there to increase pricing by $100. I wish, of course, it was 1 terabyte, but then it wouldn't, of course, make sense with the configurations of the base version. It would make this instantly a better value. Here you pay $400 more for 24 gigabytes of extra memory, not for 16 gigabytes. And here you pay $200 more for 16 gigabytes of extra memory. So you go from 1.5x better pricing to literally double better pricing over what the base configurations force you to pay up. In terms of storage, yeah, obviously the 8 terabyte model is quite insane. Let's just look if you want everything here to get the full. By the way, for most people, honestly, I couldn't tell you if you actually need the fully enabled M4 Pro. Now, the $200 extra are not a huge change on the value proposition, but probably, you know what, you probably might not benefit too much from, like, yeah, it's 25% more GPU cores. Yes, it's 25% more performance cores. But most people will probably be very happy with that. 48 gigs of memory is a tiny bit overkill. This is probably the configuration I would spec up for most people. I guess once you're at 2400, why not add less than 10% for the fully enabled chip? And I mean, even getting 64 gigs of memory, knowing how much 64 gigs of memory, like 48 gigabytes of extra memory here, I'm sorry, that's not 20, that's 40 gigabytes of extra memory for $800. That's actually not crazy by the standards of like pro devices, right? You cannot even get a 64 gigabyte memory for a consumer graphics card, right? You would have to go with like NVIDIA's Quadro solutions or like AMD's WX or something like that solutions. I see you guys are helping each other out. I see we're close to 110 likes. Absolutely crazy. I'm so grateful to you. We have so many people still watching. Let me know would you like to see me cover else today or tomorrow, because I'm definitely streaming tomorrow. You can bet your ass on that. Yeah. Do you have any questions, any suggestions? So this is probably the version that I would set up here, but I guess if we go absolutely ham, then it will cost us what? $4,700, which is a lot. But granted, it's probably not too crazy for an absolute pro who might actually write some of the cost off from taxes, who might like who might even bill that cost even directly to some of their customers. Yeah, it's not too crazy. Obviously, no regular consumer should buy this configuration, but it's still interesting to consider that this is not terrible value, actually. Yeah, even your internet speed is under 1 Mbps. By using 10 gigabit Ethernet on all your network devices would help a lot for local network file transfer. Great. M4 Pro base looks amazing in terms of specs. I do need 48 gigabytes for my use, but yeah, that Apple text pricing for upgrade is pain. True. And Daniel, you're saying thank you to the community for all of their answers. I love it when you guys help each other here. Let's look at the tech specs in general. So, I've said it already in the past, we've covered that, and this is actually a prediction I made on Twitter not too long ago, and I was like, well, the M1 Pro and M1 Max had faster memory than the M1 did, right? They had 6400 megatransfers memory versus, what was it, like 4400? And now Apple is doing the same. This is based on a 128-bit bus with with 7500 megatransfers per second speed memory. This is based on a 256-bit bus with 8533 megatransfers per second memory. I also assume that Apple will still keep making the differentiation of giving the base M-series chip like PCIe 3x4 speeds, which would be around 3.5 gigabits per second, and then this would be more a PCIe 4x4 speeds, which would be like 7 gigabits per second. If they had updated it to something crazy like 10 gigabits per second storage or beyond, I would assume they would have talked about that. But yeah, still cool. And still more than fast enough for everyone. One thing that I was not sure about is, would Apple consider giving us AV1 encode, maybe giving us different media encoders on the Pro version versus the base M version? That is not happening. So if your workflow is very much AV1 and you want to encode AV1, then maybe the Mac Mini is not the right tool for you. Unless, of course, you can leverage all of its extra CPU cores and you're not considering going for like a PC build with like an RTX card or something like that. James, what is my guess for tomorrow? M4 Mac Studio? No, I think I've answered that already. My guess for tomorrow is the MacBook Pro, consisting of the base 14-inch version with the M4, the 14 and 16-inch versions consisting of the M4 Pro, which now, of course, we know so much about the M4 Pro and how it's binned, in that it uses faster memory, in that it comes standard with 24 gigs of memory. That I expect, and I expect, of course, the M4 Max versions of those 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pros. Boris, paying in 12 months is amazing. In my country, I have to pay the cost when it's ordered. Yes, and Apple often even lets you like pay in like 0% installments, so that's quite cool. So you max out at 64 gigs of memory, storage, and of course 8 terabytes, absolutely insane. We covered all the display support stuff. We cover video playback. Now Apple is mentioning, of course, everything that they mentioned there in the media stuff. This is just stuff that has native decode support. Obviously, with the CPU itself, you could do other codecs too, so it's not limited to that. HDR, nice to see Dolby Vision, HDR10 and 10 Plus and HLG supported. That being said, of course, you would need an HDR capable monitor for that. Support formats included AAC, so again, those specs make absolute sense to me. The USB-C ports on the front, they just call them USB-C. They said it's USB-C 3, which I guess could be both 5 gigabit or 10. And then, of course, we covered all the differences between Thunderbolt 4 and 5, which where I also explained the fact that Thunderbolt 4 has 40 gigabits in both directions, so technically 80 gigabits actually overall. Thunderbolt 5 doubles that to 160 gigabits overall, but in one direction you can actually combine one full 80 gigabit stream with half of the stream of the other side and give you 120. So this is more than enough for 6K or 8K at 120 hertz. You could probably do 6K 240 or something like that with display stream compression. So a lot of good stuff here. Oh yeah, I believe I mentioned that in the beginning. Bluetooth, Wi-Fi 6.E and Bluetooth 5.3 would have been great to get Wi-Fi 7, especially if it was a faster Wi-Fi card, but 2.4 gigabits per second for Wi-Fi is not bad. Let's hope it has none of the like Bluetooth connectivity issues of the previous generation, like the all like aluminum enclosure sometimes limited the Mac Mini in just how good its Bluetooth could be. Hopefully just because of how small everything is, that could be solved. I'm not sure. So it's ridiculously small, 5 by 5 inches, just 2 inches in height. It weighs 1.5 pounds for the M4 version. It seems to have a little bit more cooling, maybe a larger power supply with the M4 Pro. And then it's just the supply. You can see all those like obligatory specs, like at what temperatures it operates. You see it comes with one power cord at 1.8 meters, so it doesn't come with an external power brick like the iMac, which is obviously where the iMac also has its Ethernet jack, while this one keeps its Ethernet jack right in the body. Of course, some of you might be sad to be losing USB-A ports here, but that's unfortunately the price of giving all that bandwidth to all those USB-C ports and making the device that small. So I think we're basically close to wrapping this up. We've been streaming for almost 3 hours. Before we get to wrapping this up, again, I would like to ask anybody of you, do you still have any questions, any suggestions? Do any of you, of course, want to join the community? I'm feeling like I'm a cult leader at this point, asking all of you to join, but you guys know how great that is for the channel. Subscribing to the channel, liking the video, sharing out the video, commenting. One big plea: after the video has been finished, please go back to it and leave a regular comment. I'm actually not sure. I don't think you can do that while the video is actually live, but it's actually really, really great for the algorithm to have comments afterwards and not just comments in the live stream. So that's amazing. If any of you want to support what I'm doing here directly, this channel has almost 200 videos. You can go back to every single one of my live streams. You can leave a super chat or a super sticker as a small donation. Or as I say, everything gets reinvested into the channel. It helps me find extra time from my regular busy hospital work. And of course, beyond all of that, there's extra stuff in you becoming a channel member or a supporter over on Patreon. I will give you shout outs. You'll get badges. We still have a very small community of direct supporters. So if you want to become one, that helps a lot. And that will also teach me what are better perks to give to channel members. So yeah, again, a lot of cool stuff for all of us to explore together. Let's see, did Apple publish anything else today? The newsroom, the Mac Mini is enough. Can you recommend a good charger for MacBook Pro besides Apple's? I actually can. Now that one isn't too cheap, but it does have other advantages. Anchor, I don't want the German side, but I guess that won't. Anchor does like really good chargers, and it depends. Like the 14-inch MacBook Pro maxes out at 100 watts, and the 16-inch MacBook Pro maxes out at 140 watts, right? So you can get like an 100-watt GAN charger here, and what's great, you will still get like a USB-A port and a USB-C port, so you can split all that peak charging. Is that a new one? No, it doesn't. I don't know if it's new or something. And that one, I believe, is also available in even higher peak speeds. I believe that one, I apologize for it opening this up in German for some reason, even though I have set everything on my device to English, but I guess it just recognizes that I'm coming from Germany here. Yeah, you can get it in 120 watts, and I believe there was an 140 watt version. Alternatively, there are also like companies like Aukey doing stuff like this, but Anchor is the brand. I know Anchor has its issues, like they had all that data collection. Oh, there's their 140 watt stuff, but I believe that one isn't current anymore. So I personally use that one that I showed. It's for my 14-inch MacBook Pro. That one goes up to 100 watts. But I believe there are higher end versions. I'm most certainly sure that especially on the US website you should find some. Plus there are these crazy solutions, but I assume most of you wouldn't be interested in something like that. I saw Best Buy having clearance 100 and 120 and 150 watt chargers, not on website. Yeah, sometimes I know that we are all like permanently online like nerds, but I really do recommend sometimes going to an actual store and seeing what's available there and at what kind of potentially crazy discount. Because on websites, you might just get tricked. They might show you like an artificially high price and then a discount that brings it back down to almost like the regular pricing. And you're like, oh, I'm getting a big discount. But in reality, you're kind of getting screwed. I recently bought 65 watt Anker charger, but I heard 65 watt chargers aren't regulated. The question with that is like, the brand is what usually matters, and power delivery compliance is what matters more, in my opinion, than most regulations. So if the charger works well, if the reviews are good for it, that's probably more important. But yes, I assume there are probably specific regulations for chargers that are like 100 watts or above, because there's just so much power. There's potential for them to become a fire hazard or something like that. But yeah, since you yourself have already found Anker, I don't actually think I can recommend you too much new stuff. That's all, guys. 3 hours into this. 110 likes, still over 50 viewers. 50 viewers right now. That's actually more viewers than we had at peak yesterday while covering the iMac. I promise to be back tomorrow, but it might be at a slightly different time than today. This is why I'm telling you to subscribe to the channel, hitting the notification bell so you actually know when I'm going live about now. Jan, you're asking very nicely, it's like a power off comment for this chat, like why is the power button on the bottom? Probably because it makes the rest of the Mac Mini look very pretty. 111 likes, great number to end on. So thank you so much. I believe this has been one of the best 2 days for the channel ever. I strongly encourage you to come back. This is the kind of content that we do. I of course know that whenever there isn't like an Apple event or big announcements like this, we won't really get so many people in one stream, but this means the world to me. I'll keep on doing this next to my work, next to all the other stuff. So however way you want to help or join, that's all up to you. I've given you plenty of YouTube jazz callouts. You'll get used to it. I call all that stuff YouTube jazz, all the commenting and liking and sharing. This was absolutely tremendous for me. It absolutely blew my mind. And tomorrow, yes, a MacBook Pro announcement. Schnitzel Noodle saying, thanks, great stream, see you tomorrow. Thank you all. It was absolutely tremendous from me. It's also time for Oni-chan to go to sleep. So I guess it's time for your Emoto to go to sleep. If you're Oni-chan, then I'm your little anime sister, I guess. This was absolutely mind-boggling to me. I'm so happy to have made this stream. 3 hours into it, probably gonna break the 3 hour mark. Well, no, we've actually already broken the 3 hour mark because I've started a few minutes early. So thank you so much. I'll see you tomorrow. As always, let me know. Please find the time to go into the comments as the video ends and leave just like a thumbs up or like a message about how you enjoyed it, because that will help us. That will help the algorithm know that you actually liked the video, that you weren't like spitting into like your chat while watching me. So that's my last shout out. And of course, you can also make suggestions on what else you would like to see me cover. Go back to basically my portfolio videos and see what I've covered in the past, if any of that interests you. And then we'll be back tomorrow to be covering the M4, M4 Pro, and M4 Max 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pros. Thank you so much, guys. This is Mark Tech, tuning out.